Well, now that we're done, as we just spent the last 20 minutes trying to remember Russell Crowe's name so that I could make a shitty joke about you drinking Jekyll and Hyde formula because he's in The Mummy.
That he is.
Not either of the good ones, but the only bad one. Well, no, I'm sure there's bad mummy movies. All of that to say, that was just a bad joke. And keep on hanging in there, Russell Crowe. We'll remember you one day. You'll reach cultural relevance.
Yeah, I suppose. Anyway.
So today was a stressful fucking day for us.
Yes.
And I want to take this opportunity to vent to our audience because it was a stressful day. So we've talked about it on the show many times. We will talk about it many more. That you and I love Halloween Horror Nights.
Yes, we do.
Fucking love it. It is our favorite thing in the world. Well, the passes, not the tickets, but the passes went on sale today, like the multi-night passes. And they've always offered the same kinds of packages wherein there are the regular passes that are frequent fear, where you can go many times. They have a few days, more days, and a lot of days, just like all theme park passes.
Yeah.
You typically go with the larger package, which is frequent fear with express.
Yeah, that's what I like to get. The last few years, I've enjoyed that. Being able to skip the lines, and with the amount of nights of the event that I try and go, which is typically 10 plus nights, it tends to work out pretty well for me.
Yeah. Well, and my situation is a bit different just because, unfortunately, in my life, I have reached the position where I am legally able to declare myself as handicapped to get like parking and whatnot. And though it has its advantages, I would much rather just have all of the feeling in my leg. But you take the good with the bad. So I don't need the express pass because I can't do that much walking anyway.
Right.
So Carly and I always just do the standard frequent fear. Which we were able to get today. But the new way that the park is handling frequent fear with express is they've realized, well, if we leave that option open to everyone, anyone who can will do it. And then we lose a fuck ton of money on the back end when that many people show up every night and no one buys the hundreds of dollars worth of express passes.
This year, it's like express passes, depending on the day of the week, go between $150 and $200.
Yeah, which is insane.
It's basically a night of horror nights. You're just paying for another ticket.
Well, and that's the first thing I wanted to bring up, which is the price hike again. Because, I mean, everything that we love, we're all getting priced out of in every way. I mean, you have the adage of like, my children will never own a home, just like I now will never own a home. And everything is so expensive, you know, groceries and all these things that apparently we're going to get fixed. But eggs are just as expensive.
What?
Yeah. Eggs are expensive, dude. They're like a diamond ring is worth one egg.
But I love eggs.
Oh, they're great. Boil them,
I wear
mash
them on my fingers.
Stick them in a stew. But wait. The problem with saying the word egg is that now you just say egg and you're Frank Reynolds. But the single night tickets, when we started going years and years ago, the 30th anniversary, which I think is like 4 or 5 years. No, it's 5 years ago. And those tickets were, I think, $60. I think a ticket now, a single night ticket is $89. Is $100 to get in the door, which is crazy. But frequent fear with express was like $1,000.
Yeah. Frequent fear with express, was like $860 or something this year.
Yeah.
But they sold out in about 40 minutes,
which
from
is
whenever they went on sale.
Also insane. I mean, it shows that this will last forever, that it's only ever gotten more popular, which is good.
Yeah.
But it also hurts the people that always go every day.
Yeah. And I mean, the reason that it's gotten so big the last several years, one, I think it has a lot to do with people posting about it on social media.
Yeah.
People talking about it on their podcasts. So we're part of the problem. But then also the IPs, the properties out there that they've brought in to kind of bring in different crowds. And they've really, in the last few years, gone, okay, well, let's put a classic movie in there. Let's put a little younger, like a PG-13 sort of movie in there to catch those kids. Let's go a little off the wall.
Yeah. Well,
and then just kind of get everybody.
We mentioned earlier in a couple episodes prior that I was very excited because it's all my favorite stuff. And, Jason and Fallout, Five Nights at Freddy's, they just announced, I think today, when the passes went on sale, that they're also doing Terrifier.
Right.
But now the last question that I have for you in this small discussion is, it is all but confirmed. It is like almost a fact that the final house that they're going to announce for their IPs is the WWE.
Yeah.
Do you
like the Wyatt family? I know nothing about wrestling,
Neither
but I
do
think
I.
that's what it's based on.
So here's the thing. The only thing that I know about wrestling is that the big company, the WWE, their founder is, and sorry everybody, but this is just true. Their founder is like a rapist and is like abusive physically and sexually, and he's racist to a fault. And his wife has now gutted the Department of Education, working for a fascist empire. So
Bad people.
Yeah. Do you think that that's problematic? Because I do. I think that kind of, it gets as close as you can get to tainting the brand without me going, well, no, fuck you, I'm not going anymore.
Yeah, no, I do think it is a odd choice in this year when all this information is now out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is a bad look and not my favorite thing in the world. Not even from a like I don't watch wrestling standpoint, but just from the points that you just said.
Yeah.
I will say the one thing I do know about wrestling is that it is absolutely real.
Yeah, my hope is that it's so real that when we go in the house, somebody will tackle me off the high bar and I'll get paralyzed for real. You've got the body, and I've got the Third Channel podcast,
where we delve into the horror franchises you love from the perspectives of a lifelong horror fan.
And a newbie to the genre. I'm PJ.
And I'm Derek.
And today, the only thing we're here to talk about is horror. Today's horror is Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy's Revenge.
Yeah, we made the switch.
We made the switch. We came back into Elm Street to discuss a very controversial, very odd movie. And we have a lot to talk about with this one.
It's a movie that was not very popular when it first came out.
No.
In a lot of circles, it's still not popular.
Yeah.
But it has found a cult following in the years since. And I think in the last decade especially, it has gotten a new lease on life, if you will.
It has a reason both culturally and cinematically to be relevant in a time where when it was released, there was no room for that there was no room for it to live.
Yeah.
It was on the fringe socially. It was on the fringe in a narrative way. It was on the fringe in Christians hated it. Horror fans hated it. Everybody hated it. And I got to be honest with you, and we're going to have a lot of conversation, and it's very nuanced, and we will get pretty granular with the things that we're discussing and the themes and the tones. But as a movie, I still don't like it.
Okay.
not for any bad reason, but just for the reason a guy doesn't like a movie. I don't like that movie.
No, that makes sense.
And we'll talk about all of that.
This is one that I really go back and forth on. Every time I watch it, I pick out little things or different things, and I don't know if I exactly like it as a nightmare movie, but I do like it in its new lease on life of like a movie about queer identity.
Sure, and I don't like it as a nightmare movie. And I don't like it as a movie. But what I will say, and this is another part of the discussion that we can have very briefly here now, I do really appreciate Mark Patton, the lead who plays Jesse, our lead character. We watched a documentary that you pulled up. And where did you pull it up?
This one's available right now, guys, on Tubi.
Let me tell you guys something. If you're not on fucking Tubi every day, you're doing yourself a disservice. Wake up in the morning, have your cup of coffee, stretch, quit your job, and watch Tubi all day. We watched a documentary.
Yes. And it's called Scream Queen, My Nightmare on Elm Street. It's from 2019.
Yeah. And it follows sort of like a retrospective look at Mark Patton's life and what his life was like before the movie, what the movie did to his life, what the world around him did to him and his life because of who he was, that then made the movie even more challenging to live in the shadow of. All of that to then lead to a life of recovery and then eventually closure.
Yeah.
And I mean, in that, oh my God, the documentary is infinitely better than this movie. It is like, it is so much better. It's like if, Apocalypse Now, if that wasn't covering something that was, it's like if that was covering something that was like Rocky Horror. It's like, well, that's amazing, but Rocky's bad. And that's kind of the same feel.
But it's funny that you mentioned that. We've mentioned Rocky Horror a few times on this podcast. PJ and I, if we haven't said it before.
I think we have, but a long time ago.
Like, it's always in passing. We are part of a Rocky Horror Picture Show cast here in the Tampa Bay area.
Yeah. I started doing the Rocky Horror Picture Show in this area when I was 14 years old. Yeah. And I'm old. So I've been doing it a long time. And I know you started I
started going as a fan and whenever I moved to Tampa, so probably over 12 years ago. And then I've been part of our cast for 6-7 years that we've been going.
Yeah.
We are part of a cast called Hell on Heels. If you are local to the Tampa Bay area, we do perform monthly at Greenlight Cinema, which is over in St. Pete. A little plug to them. Greenlight is awesome. Go and see not only us perform, but the other cool shit that they have going on there.
Yeah, they just did like a Batman marathon for no fucking reason.
Yeah.
Which is great. But
there's different movie clubs and things that get to show all sorts of cool things.
Yeah. What we just did in June, we did our Pride double feature.
Yeah.
So we showed the movie twice. We had the shadow cast twice.
Sold out shows.
Yeah.
So you got to get those tickets early. But all that to say, I mean, that is, Rocky Horror is a staple in both the queer community and strangely the horror community.
Yeah.
Rocky Horror is one of those movies where I remember seeing that as a young kid, not the movie, but the box for it in the horror section of video rental stores.
Yeah.
And not understanding.
One thing I will say is that it's got the name horror in it. So that makes sense.
Yeah. But
it's like the Amityville horror,
it's pretty much, nebulously, it's the same.
I think where you're going with that is an easy thread to follow, which is you and I have been surrounded by queer cinema for years. It is a part of me. I grew up doing it. I grew up with the jokes. I grew up with the cast. I grew up with people that would, blossom into who they were, escape families to join the cast and to really be accepted for the first time. And I think that that's what that cast focuses on. And you and I have focused on that in our conversation in the past.
Yeah.
But in Rocky Horror, we met a good friend of ours now recently.
Yeah.
He joined cast recently.
Yeah, within the last year or so, Charles Suor, we know him as Charlie.
Yeah.
And that's how I'll refer to him going forward. But yeah, Charlie is somebody who he listens to the show as far as I'm aware. We really wanted him on.
Yeah, it's funny. He came to me the last time at Pride. He came to me and he was like, "Hey, by the way, I want to let you know, I really respect Derek's research and his knowledge on the things that he talks about, and him being a movie completionist. I really respect all that. But I follow both of you guys on Letterboxd, and usually when he posts a review, I'm like, yeah, okay, yeah. And then you post a review, and I'm like, absolutely, he agrees with me 100%. So when you go over his credentials, everybody remember he agrees with me.
Oh,
PJ, the newbie. So just saying.
Yeah. We wanted to have Charlie on, like we have, guests in the past, either sitting here with us or we're trying to figure out, doing call-in guests as well. But because of scheduling and life work balances and things like that, we just couldn't get Charlie in here for a seat.
Yeah.
So instead, what we did was we reached out to him because we still wanted his opinion. And whenever I go over kind of some things about Charlie, you'll understand why. But we wanted his opinion on this movie in particular. So Charlie is a cultural studies scholar whose research basically concerns gender, horror, and cult films, as well as like alternative music, emo, metal, punk, that sort of thing. So you can understand why, that makes sense for him to be part of this conversation.
Yeah.
A lot of his work focuses on like exploring queerness and transness in film, focusing on masculinity. And if you wanted to get a better understanding of the kind of work that he does, he actually recently spoke at NYU at their Music and the Moving Image conference. He has an article in the newest issue of Phantasmag, which is a queer horror magazine. And then outside of that, he also makes a zine that I think posts around here locally called Transylvanian Horror, and co-hosts a podcast called Bloody Sunday.
Fuck. Another one?
Mm-hmm.
Well, Charlie, you're dead to me. You were officially another rival.
But yeah, with Bloody Sunday, they typically talk about 1 to 2 films and kind of have a thematic tie between them whenever they're chatting.
Yeah. He has essentially embraced the coolest parts of life with his own identity.
Mm-hmm.
And has really just like broken through the mold and has made, he's basically gotten a degree in like Hot Topic in the early aughts, like as cool as that store ever was. And it was like, well, yeah, no, but why? It's like, that's the science. He is pouring, a chemical into another beaker and it's like roiling over with like a Perfect Circle songs.
Yeah. Much like a Russell Crowe in Tom Cruise Mummy.
Tom Cruise me.
But because Charlie couldn't be here tonight while we're recording, instead you and I worked on a list of, you sent me some questions and we're like, I think these are the things I want to ask. And I was like, okay, here are some questions that I also would ask him if he were sitting here and we were talking to him, because Charlie is, and I'm not saying anything bad about Bug or Dylan or Carly or Alistair. I'm not saying anything bad about those people. All of those people are very close to me. But Charlie's not the kind of person that you just sit and talk about this stuff with. You want to know his thoughts on things, specifically his thoughts, because his thoughts carry and he'll have to push all the smoke that we're blowing up his ass out of it later. But you want to know his opinion because his opinion carries kind of like a mountain's worth of weight because we respect the things he's done for what we love so much. So we basically sent him the questions of an interview. And for the context of this, we will post those questions probably in the description below what you're looking at now. So if you want to read along those questions as you listen to what Charlie sent us as he answered those questions in a kind of one-sided interview. Everybody, here's Charlie.
So this was the first time I actually saw the film. I knew about it for a while because my work is in queer horror, so it did get brought up a lot. It is even used in a lot of like scholarly texts talking about queerness and horror and gender and horror because it is such an odd pick. Horror as a genre has a lot of intricacies with gender, with masculinity, femininity, sort of blurring those lines and playing with that, because playing with gender is abnormal. It's something the heteronormative societies don't really mesh well with. So when you play with that, that's kind of horrifying. So you pretty much find it throughout the genre. This one sticks out because how explicit it is. It was crazy. I had expectations for this film, and it totally exceeded them with how much of a queer narrative it was. I think that it makes sense that this would happen in the Nightmare series because I see Freddy as a really queer character, problematically, but also in a really funny way that I enjoy. One of the first things that I knew about Freddy is that in one of the films that you'll be talking about later for Freddy v. Jason, that a girl like looks at him and says like, nice sweater, faggot. And that sort of like kind of prefaced my entire understanding of the character, because you basically have this demon twink with knife hands, and I think that that's pretty straightforward, no pun intended. So sort of the problematic nature of Freddy and why he's like acknowledged as a homophobic character is because he's assigned a lot of gay characteristics as the series goes on. While I haven't seen the films in full, I've seen a lot of clips and I've heard y'all talk about it, but he is personality. And that sort of display of personality, along with his body type and attitude in general, kind of get him assigned as a gay character, which is problematic by the fact that he's a child murderer. That's his big thing in the first movie. So to advance him from being like the child murderer who has like a sort of zest to everything that he does, to in the sequel having him pin this boy against the wall saying that he wants his body, it's easy to see why people might have a problem with that. That being said, a lot of horror is queer. You're going to find queerness in pretty much any horror villain. I could go on for hours breaking down like the big slashers and tell you why they're all gay and like what's interesting about them. You know, they take Leatherface, for example, and as those sequels go on, he gets even more sort of troubled in that gender presentation. At one point in one of the sequels, they fully push the fact that he has this like splintered like mother character and have a scene with him like lavishly putting on makeup, and it's really bad, but it's also really funny. So I think that you just gotta take things in stride, and my opinion is that I'm rocking with it. I enjoy the movie. As a queer person, I'm really fucking with this movie. I really enjoy it, but I could understand why some people might not like it, and that's okay too. I think that it just comes to your taste, just like the horror genre itself. I think this was an interesting like development of the series though, and I think that it's a good direction to go in next. The only thing I don't really understand is how it's Freddy's revenge, because in the first movie, that was Freddy's revenge. That was the whole thing. He's getting like revenge on the neighborhood and the kids there. So I don't really get how it's revenge. He also won. I don't know what he's vengeful for. I don't know why he has to re-the-venge. I think it's just the original venge over again because he wants a body, and that's okay. Like, that's fine. He can do that. It doesn't need to be read. My favorite effect sequence that happens in the movie is when Jesse is in Grady's room and Freddy starts to like morph through his body. I think that every bit of that is so good, from like the hand turning and you having the claws come from under his, not even under his fingernails, but like through his bones in his fingers. And then his arm starts to break apart and you have Freddy like clawing out. And when Freddy like comes out and does the whole jump and you see like Jesse's torso like fall, that's gnarly and it's sick as hell. And I really, really dig the effects in this movie. I think that they look not totally realistic, but they look gnarly, and that's sort of what I want. I want those gnarly effects that are very like schlocky horror, almost exploitation. That's the type of effects that I like in a movie, and that's the type of camp that I like in a movie. So I enjoyed it a lot. I really enjoy Jesse as a main character, and I think that that gives a lot of insight into why this is such an interesting film. Sort of what I was talking about earlier with like that troubling of gender. It's a pretty commonly accepted theory in like the scholarly space that one of the things behind A Final Girl is the fact that masculine audiences can sort of dabble in vulnerability through these characters. So it's kind of widely accepted that horror is like a masculine genre, that it draws in a lot of like young male audiences. And of course, that's not entirely the case, but there is a sort of male bias in the audience base. But that doesn't match up with what you see on screen. You see a lot of female protagonists. That's how we get the term final girl. It was actually coined in the scholarly space. So it's theorized that men will go and they'll sit in the theater and they will sort of relate to the girls on screen, but that's okay. And it doesn't like trouble them and make them feel insecure because they're like, that's scary, but that's a girl in that situation. I'm fine. I could be different. So they're sort of able to have that boundary, and it separates them from the film, but allows them to still enjoy the film. Horror film is a safe distance that you can engage with. That's deeply troubled when you don't have a final girl, when you have a male protagonist in a horror movie. So I think that that's where a lot of queerness in Jesse's character comes from. Outside of the film being an analogy, which I'll talk about in a second, I think that that's really disturbing. To see a man vulnerable on screen is disturbing, and that adds another level of horror that just makes people uncomfortable. And then disgust comes from that. So that really, really stands out to me, and I think that that's my biggest takeaway from the film. My other big takeaway is the fact that it's sort of this analogy for internalized homophobia. Throughout it, you see Jesse's relationship with two characters develop, with Lisa and Grady. He sort of has like this begrudging friendship with Grady, and it's funny at times because Grady just seems to be super nice to him. Like you have their little tough in the beginning where Grady pulls his pants down, which is a whole thing. But they do have a friendship. There's like sort of a camaraderie there, and Jesse's always sort of terse with it. Meanwhile, he's trying to date Lisa, and that relationship is developing in tandem. And it sort of feels like you're watching him have these desires but not be able to fully express them. Meanwhile, you have queerness spoken about with like the coach who goes to the S&M bar. You have him dream about the S&M bar. You have Freddy say suggestive things to him about how he should give into these urges, how he should kill for him, how he needs his body, things like that, that it kind of isn't a subtle thing anymore. I think that you lose the subtext and it just becomes the text. And that's another reason why people might think that this film is homophobic, because in the end, the evil urges are defeated and he ends up with Lisa. But I'm not sure that I fully buy that, because just like in the first film, you have that ambiguous ending. So even though he does settle down with the girl, it doesn't work out. I think that it's sort of leading to this larger thing that it's not going to go away. And while it might be evil in the film and in the genre, I don't think that it's a statement that homosexuality is evil. I think it's just a way to talk about how it might feel evil, how it might feel dirty and wrong, but how you work around it and sort of address that and address the feelings you have towards it. I think that it's really important that you see Jesse's relationship with his family, that you have the scene where Freddy guides him to almost hurting his sister. It sort of expresses his internal anxieties with that. Same thing in the locker room. You have his internal anxieties expressed by the fact that you have the coach bound and then his ass is whipped with a towel, and it starts off sexual and leading into BDSM and then becomes violent. Sort of a reflection of those desires. And I think in a really lighthearted way, the dance scene feeds into that. The fact that you have him alone and he's comfortable and just in his own skin and enjoying himself, and then his mom and Lisa come in and he's embarrassed and shuts it down real quick. He has to go back to normalcy. It's that sort of like gotcha moment that sort of feeds into everything for me. I really like the dance scene. I think that it's really funny. And I think that the cringe within it, it's kind of what I was saying earlier about how you sort of have that separation between the screen and yourself. and that the cringe that you might be feeling is because maybe you see that and you'd be like, I'd be embarrassed if they caught me like that too. So I think it kind of places you in an interesting way. Overall, I would recommend this film. I really enjoyed it. I think that it's a good entry into queer horror, and it's a good way to sort of see how these classic horror villains are super queer. I have a long list of queer horror recommendations, and I have a list on Letterboxd where people can access that. My Letterboxd is Gloom Division, like Joy Division, but gloomy. So it works out that way. It's also the name of an album, so either way to remember works. But if I'm making some recommendations, some I would recommend. I recommend revisiting like the Universal monsters and sort of seeing that through a queer lens in a similar way that you have the writer of this film coming in with a queer lens. A lot of the original monster films are by James Whale, who was a gay man. So you can see that reflected there as well. But outside of that, some things I would recommend. I recommend revisiting The Exorcist through a queer lens. I think that's a really good one. You don't really need a queer lens for this one. It's kind of on the tin, but Fright Night, really excellent. So yeah, there are a lot of options out there. Anyone, open invitation to look on my Letterboxd and steal something from my list.
It's so neat to listen to someone form opinions so matter-of-factly, but then also give inclination to like, well, yeah, and everything's subjective. Like, this is just how I feel. But it's like every single talking point is like, no, and this is referenced in all kinds of things. And it was really the bomb drop of like, oh no, I have an entire letterbox dedicated to this. If you want examples, I have dozens. And it's like, God damn.
Yeah. I typically make lists for a lot of different movies on Letterboxd, and I have one that is kind of like Pride Month queer horror. But I would love to. I need to go on Charlie's Letterboxd and compare lists.
Yeah, and you can look at my lists again. The wonderful, well-spoken interviewee that you just listened to again agrees with me a lot, and I'm just saying that kind of makes me a big deal. Yeah, in this space.
But yeah, anything that Charlie's working on, if you want to check out his Letterboxd, or for his lists of queer horror films, if you want to check out his Bloody Sunday podcast, or his zine, we'll have links to that all down in the description.
I loved all of his answers. I'm really happy that we asked him to do this, because I think it adds a lot to this conversation that I don't know. I mean, as a cis heterosexual man, I don't think that I have the experience to really speak about.
Yeah, that is, I fully agree there. I think it's one of those things where you and I both kind of struggle with that whenever we are going to talk about certain topics in an episode about a movie, because horror deals with, it's not all just blood and guts. And as much as we love that side of things, I love it when a horror movie is about issues and about the human condition. And so, but we don't experience all walks of life. And so sometimes we do need another opinion. Yeah. And I love to hear it.
Yeah. It's reminiscent of back in the old days when Ty actually was able to be in and I'm doing air quotes here, our studio with us. And he talked on the importance of representation of people of color in the Scream films and how they kind of referenced that. And he had, I want him to be able to speak on that. And the good news for those of you who miss producer Ty is we are working on things with him where he might come back in a certain capacity for certain things that we've got in the works.
Oh yeah. So Ty will be back sooner rather than later.
If you want Ty back, what you got to do is you got to email us at thirdchannelpodcast@gmail.com an image of a single Pringle. It's what we pay him. So if you send him single Pringles, you might see him more often. A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2, Freddy's Revenge, which again, Charlie pointed out, not really getting revenge on anything.
Yeah. We had that same thought in our last rewatch.
I like the way he put it, where he's just venging. It's like the same thing. The Letterboxd description of this film: the man of your dreams is back, which is pretty fucking funny.
Yeah.
Jesse Walsh moves with his family into the home of the lone survivor from a series of attacks by dream-stalking monster Freddy Krueger. There, he is bedeviled by nightmares and inexplicably violent impulses. And that's the description. Not a bad one.
Not a bad one.
What I will say is the picture that they used is him sleeping in the classroom, which fucking infuriates me because it is the one time in the movie where Jesse falls asleep and doesn't experience like a Freddy nightmare.
Yeah.
And they use that as the fucking thumbnail.
Yeah. It's there's a lot of like scenes that are just like transitional points that don't really add a whole lot.
Yeah. Really quick before we move away from Letterboxd, it's very important that I discuss the Walker watch. Walker, who rated the original Nightmare on Elm Street incredibly poorly, who, by the way, rated the Platinum Dunes remake of Nightmare on Elm Street at 5 stars, has given this one 4.5.
Oh,
so
likes it.
Yeah. It's just the strangest thing.
He's an enigma.
He is an enigma.
Or a troll. I don't know which.
It's like, I want to interview him the same way I want to interview Charlie, but because of a complete and total disrespect of his opinion. I need to dig into the mind of that. Anyway, we're never going to get in contact with him because he's probably going to listen to, like, if I reached out and was like, hey, we mentioned you, he'd listen and be like, hey, go fuck yourself. And we'd get sued. But yeah.
Yeah. Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy's Revenge, released November 1st, 1985, which is technically less than a year after the release of the first film.
Yeah, it's also November 1st. It's also when we put out our first episode.
Oh my God, I hadn't made that connection.
We share a birthday with this fucking movie.
Wow. We should have named our podcast after it.
No. Freddy's Revenge, the podcast.
Yeah. Directed by Jack Sholder.
Which I want to get out in front of something really quick. We'll talk about him a lot. Jack Sholder is a director whom I know very little about, but I do know one thing. Because again, we watched documentaries about this fucking movie. We did a lot of extra research because of its weirdness and the way it's kind of affected in the zeitgeist. But Jack Sholder's a piece of shit. I fucking hate his guts.
Yeah, he's not a great person.
No. Very basically, and we won't spend too much time outside of this movie, but very basically, the guy who plays Jesse has a problem with the writer of the film. And I'm sure you're going to get into all of that as well.
David Chaskin.
Yeah. But for reasons you'll discover in a moment, Jesse's actor Mark Patton is angry at the writer of the movie. And Jack Sholder, who directed the movie, in his infinite wisdom, years later, after Mark Patton suffered horribly for reasons I'm sure you will get into later, Jack Sholder's response to him being like, well, yeah, I just want an apology from this guy. He kind of fucking like fucked my life up in a lot of ways. And Jack Sholder was like, well, you just need to, and he wasn't nice about it. He was just like, you just need to get the fuck over it. It's been a long time. Like, you're the only reason that this is still emotional for you.
Yeah.
And it's like, I want to slap you in your face in a crowded room. I want to slap you so that party goers gasp and stare.
You're not wrong.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're good. It's produced by Robert Shea,
whom I love.
I do love him. I love where he pops up in this movie.
Yep.
The cinematography is done by Jacques Haitkin, who was the cinematographer on the first film. Although I'm not thrilled by the cinematography in this film at all.
No, and I think the reason for that is because a cinematographer can be incredible, and if your director is giant, dumb, boring, he's like a Seinfeld extra, like a recurring Seinfeld character. And if that's what you are, and also Jerry Seinfeld's a piece of shit, but if that's what you are, and you don't have any kind of artistic expression in any way, you're just like kind of a company director. Your cinematographer is like, well, what am I doing here? What do you want me to capture? And he's like, I don't know, the fucking middle of the scene. Like, go center the camera and shoot. So
we talked about what Jacques Haitkin he shot before whenever we talked about Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah.
He had an additional cinematographer with him on this named Christopher Tufty, who he did a lot of like second unit work. And so he was a camera and electrical department operator on Piranha, the 78 Joe Dante film. He was the director of photography, second unit for Critters, also done by New Line Cinema. My Demon Lover, which is a 87 horror comedy. And then also he worked on Nightmare on Elm Street 4. And then apparently he was the camera operator on Buffy the Vampire Slayer for 22 episodes.
Okay.
So TV work, some movie work, but a lot of it's all like kind of second unit stuff.
Yeah. I almost made a dumb mistake. You said Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I was like, are we back to Melissa Joan Hart again? And I was like, oh no, different show.
Yeah, different show. The editing was done by Bob Brady, who worked on Superfly, the 72 blaxploitation film, Superfly TNT, which I assume is in the same franchise.
No,
of
totally
blaxploitation. And then a movie called The Baron, which was also a 77 blaxploitation film, and a movie called Beat Street, which was an 84 hip hop dance drama, which I assume is kind of like a Break-In or Break-In 2. And then the other editor is Arlene Garson, who worked on House of Dark Shadows, which we have mentioned before. It's a 1970 vampire film that starred Joan Bennett, who was Madame Blanc in Suspiria.
Okay.
And it's like it's the movie of the TV show Dark Shadows.
Okay.
The original.
Yeah, I do remember talking about that.
And then she was also the editor on The People Next Door, which was a 1970 drama, and The Man Who Wouldn't Die, a 75 thriller, and Alone in the Dark, which we've spoken about so many times over the last couple weeks.
It's like the roosting nest of all of these bit players that come out to do horror movies every so often.
Truly. The budget for this film is larger than last time.
I don't remember last time. It's been weeks.
$1.8 million.
Okay. That's about what I would expect. That doesn't surprise me.
This one went up to $3 million.
Okay.
Now, just to put that into perspective, with the movie that we talked about last week, Friday the 13th, the final chapter, was $2.2 million. So,
yeah,
a little more for this.
The thing that confuses me with that is that the original Nightmare on Elm Street visits a bunch of locations. It goes to a bunch of places, a lot of really heavily decorated sets, a lot of, it is very visually busy all the time until it's very visually stark, but it's visually stark because you're like in a school hallway or something. This movie is like house, where they probably shot in a real house, if I had to guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. House and then school. And then house and then school. And then house and then school. And then fucking house and then the school. And then a school bus for a little bit. And then they're in the backyard of a big house where they probably just shot in a different house in the same fucking neighborhood. And then back to Jesse's house. And then back to school and back to the house. And then for a little while, they go to like downtown and they just shoot in a real location where they probably gave the guy, because it looks like a dive bar, they probably gave him $50. And then they shot in there for a little bit. And then back to fucking school and then back home. And it's like, how does a movie cost $3 million when you have the same kind of locations, but less than?
Yeah.
The same kind of effects, but less than.
Yeah, because they're not, the effects, like the makeup effects in this movie are good.
Right.
But you don't have the same like mechanical effects. You're not flipping rooms upside down and things like that.
But not only that, it's also like you have the same kind of visual makeup, like body effect, like gore effects. It's very reminiscent of the first.
Yeah.
But in the first, it happens so many times. And in this one, it's really not that many times. It's like 4 or 5 times to my count.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know. I don't like this movie, man. I'm grumpy about it. Yeah. I'm going to stare off into the distance.
You seem like it. The box office for this movie, though, brought in $30 million on that $3 million budget.
100% more. That's nice. It explains
still,
why, even though this movie was reviled, they got a 3.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's a step down from the original at 57 million, but 30 million's not a lot.
Especially because after that first weekend, it was like they have to have been tearing it apart.
Yeah.
Word of mouth is tearing it apart. Critics are tearing it apart. People still went and saw it. So,
director and writer Jack Sholder, he wrote the slasher film Alone in the Dark, which we've already mentioned. Directed or produced by Robert Shea, starring Donald Pleasance. He also did The Hidden, which was an 87 body horror film. Natural Selection, which was a TV horror film from 94, and Wishmaster 2, which was a 99 fantasy horror. I've never seen any of the Wishmaster movies.
Neither have I. I'm the newbie to the genre. I'm going to watch. That's my business card, by the way. I'm going to watch all of those. And then I will come back and be like, okay, so I was right. Jack Sholder is a talentless shithead. He might be very talented. It might be like a J.K. Rowling situation where it's like, you're very talented, but you're a bit of a cunt. So it's hard to tell, you know.
And that's putting it lightly. Producer Robert Shea, we know him, we love him. We'll talk all about him throughout this whole franchise. Writer David Chaskin, he wrote The Curse, an 87 sci-fi horror film. I, Madman, which was a 89 slasher film, and then the TV horror from 92, Midnight's Child. The music in this one is done by Christopher Young, who did The Dorm That Dripped Blood, which was a slasher film, Invaders from Mars, which was an 86 Tobe Hooper film. He did the music for Hellraiser in 87.
That is so surprising. Because I complained about the score while we were watching this movie. I was like,
very minimal.
It is not only boring, but it is like, there are whole scenes where it's just like noise, like the party sequence. It's like the music is from the boombox. It's diegetic. It's like but did you write a score? Like, how much of that? I don't know.
Well, and then also this is the only film in the series that doesn't use Charles Bernstein's like original theme from the first film or any variation of it. So you don't get that feeling to the whole movie.
What I will say is that the Hellraiser score is great.
Yeah.
So I am surprised by that.
Well, and Christopher Young also did the score for Hellraiser 2, The Fly 2, Exorcist 3, and Deathstalker 2.
Oh, Deathstalker 2 of Best of the Worst fame.
Our special effects makeup artist, we have actually talked about before, Kevin Yeager. He worked on, funnily enough, Friday the 13th, the final chapter. And then he does work on Nightmare on Elm Street 3 and 4. But we have talked about him on Child's Play 1, 2, and 3 and Bride of Chucky. And so he is the person who built the Chucky doll as well as the Crypt Keeper from Tales from the Crypt. And then we will talk about him later because he is the director of Hellraiser Bloodline.
Oh, shit. That's amazing. Have you told me that before?
Yeah,
you have.
I'm sure in those conversations, yeah. But it's been a while.
I'm dumb.
The other special effects makeup artist is Mark Shostrom. Let's go with that.
Sure.
He worked on Videodrome with David Cronenberg, and then he does work on Nightmares 1, 2, and 3. From Beyond, which is a Stuart Gordon film. Stuart Gordon also directed Reanimator, Bride of Reanimator, all those sorts of body horror stuff. He also worked on Evil Dead 2 and John Carpenter's Prince of Darkness. The development for this movie, so pre-production for Nightmare on Elm Street 2 began in April of 1985. So released in November, pre-production started in April. That is how short of a window we're talking.
God damn. That's the thing. This movie is bad for a lot of reasons, but it doesn't feel rushed.
No, but I would assume it was, man. Everything screenwriter Leslie Bowen pitched the idea for using pregnancy and possession as an homage to Rosemary's Baby. Basically, that plot was a new family moved into Nancy's house, and with a teenage boy, his pregnant mother, and a stepfather that the boy didn't get along with. His story was more about a possession scenario with Freddy getting inside of the mother's womb and controlling the fetus, but they passed on that because an executive at New Line was pregnant at the time, and so she, the idea alone upset her a great deal, which I understand.
Yeah, the idea, even now with everything that horror has become and all the things, all the taboos that the walls have been broken down of, even that I'm still like, I don't know. I don't know that I want Freddy Krueger of bitch fame to be a baby. Like, I don't know. That's weird.
But the strange thing there is that, half of that idea of possession, that still carries over into this movie. But the other half of the pregnancy idea was kind of used in A Nightmare on Elm Street 5, The Dream Child.
Yeah, I think by that point, the world has moved forward enough that that's easier to sell.
Now, Robert Shea offered Wes Craven the chance to direct again, but he turned it down because he had a lot of problems with the script. He did not like the idea of the possessed parakeet sequence, nor Freddy merging with the main character and then manifesting in real life. And his biggest problem, I think, came from the pool party scene where Freddy runs around to kill a group of teenagers, but most of those teenagers are taller than him. And so he thought that it would belittle, literally, Robert Englund in the role.
And guess what it did? That.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is, I agree with him.
It's because Wes Craven, as we used to say during Scream, can see the spooky fucking future.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That's a callback to early episodes. But everything he was like, I don't know that I like that. It's like, yeah, those are the worst parts of that movie. You know, the whole plot.
yeah.
All of it.
Jack Sholder, our director, he had previously written and directed Alone in the Dark for New Line Cinema, so he was offered to direct. Apparently, in a 2020 interview, he explained that he had, quote, no interest in making horror films, and that his initial feeling was to turn Robert Shaye down, but then he realized that Nightmare 2 could put him on the map as a director, and so he said yes. So, off to a great start with him.
Yeah, you know what I feel about him? I got a real chip on my shoulder.
Wow.
I thought of that 2 days ago. I was sitting on that.
Those are my favorite kind of jokes. New Line Cinema originally wanted to save money by not hiring Robert Englund to reprise his role as Freddy in this one. And so they planned to basically do what they did for, or, you know, what other studios did for their mass killers, Jason and Michael and things like that, is just have a stuntman do it. And so they actually brought in someone else, put him in makeup, had him do a couple scenes. And after, I think, 2 weeks of shooting, they realized that, you know, just grabbing some stuntman does not give you the same, like, classically trained performance, physical acting that Robert Englund can bring to that role.
It's like, I don't understand. Why isn't Citizen Kane 2 working? It's like, yeah, we fired the lead actor and we replaced him with the guy who was Gilman from Creature from the Black Lagoon to do all of his parts. But like, it's just, I don't know. The dailies aren't coming in good. It
just doesn't work the same.
Just,
you know?
bad.
But what's interesting is that you still actually get one little segment of footage of that extra as Freddy still in the movie. It's during the shower scene with Coach Snyder. Whenever Freddy is walking out of like the steam,
right?
That is apparently not Robert Englund.
Weird.
But he's so obscured by, you know, the steam that you can't really tell. But then, yeah, Robert Englund was back for the rest of this film and the series, thankfully.
Thank God. It is, and we will get into this in much greater detail in later sequels, but like, he is the only reason that it is Wes Craven had a good idea in the first one. He got the part, and that is the only reason this series has a pulse, is because Robert Englund is just really good at doing this character.
Yeah. And, you know, a complaint with a lot of people, I'm sure, is that Freddy only gets like 13 minutes of on-screen time in the 87 minutes that this movie is on.
Yeah.
The rest of the roles here, Jesse, he goes on to be played by Mark Patton, but apparently John Stamos and Christian Slater were also up for the part originally. Patton had recently received positive critical attention for his role in Come Back to the Five and Dime, Jimmy Dean, which I believe is it was a play turned film directed by Robert Altman. I don't know anything about that. I believe Cher is in it. But yeah, he got good reviews from that. And then both Mark Patton and his co-star Robert Rusler, who plays Grady, they were allowed to sit in on the casting of Lisa. And so Kim Myers was chosen, according to the director, because she looked like a young Meryl Streep.
Okay. If you haven't seen this movie, if you're one of the people that has given us the feedback that you like to go into these reviews without having seen the movie, to listen to what we think and then kind of take that lens and watch the movie with it that way, you should just look this woman up.
Yeah.
It's startling. It's distracting.
It really is.
Yeah.
When she turns around for the first time in this film, it is just like, when did this, wait, what was Meryl Streep doing at this time? Like,
because Meryl Streep would be older than her at this point, but it's like, it is so fucking like uncanny that you can't separate your mind to the point where it detracts from the film a bit. She's great. She's my favorite part of the movie. She is the thing the performance I think that works best, which is funny because so often her performance is just flat. Yeah. But like, at least it's like consistent. Consistently fucking bad. But it is so odd that was a positive for them.
The deciding factor. You kind of touched on this a little bit. So, you know, this film put a lot of emotional stress on Mark Patton, and he ended up leaving acting shortly after, basically for a career in interior decorating. And then in 1999, Patton was diagnosed with HIV. on his 40th birthday. And after falling ill, he was initially tested for bronchitis, and then subsequently he was hospitalized for pneumonia, thrush, and tuberculosis. But he was able to get into an AIDS treatment hospital.
Yeah.
And so upon recovering, he actually moved to Mexico. That's where he met and then later married Hector Morales Mondragon. And they own and operate an art store in Puerto Vallarta in Mexico.
He has an awesome last name.
Yeah. And he more or less kind of disappeared from the public eye for several years until they were doing the documentary I've mentioned a couple times, Never Sleep Again, I believe is the title of it. It's like a 4-hour documentary about the entire Nightmare on Elm Street franchise.
Which we want to see desperately.
Yes, I have watched it once before, but once we're kind of done, I would love for you to see it.
What I will say is that's pretty indicative of this entire show. You have seen it, and now it is my turn.
Yeah. But they found him to do interviews for that, and then afterwards he made, Scream Queen, the documentary we mentioned before in 2019. And then he was doing public appearances and, kind of raising money and giving it to like a lot of charities, the Trevor Project and things like that.
Yeah. I mean, the documentary Scream Queen ends with a list of if you feel like you do not have a place or you feel like you need to get away from a bad situation, please, visit one of these websites. And the Trevor Project is on there. A lot of, he's amazing.
Yeah.
He is amazing.
And that's why in January of 2023, this is where this gets sad, Patton was forced to cancel several of his like scheduled appearances that year in Chicago. He was hospitalized in Mexico. And recently through his manager, they have released a statement confirming that his diagnosis has progressed into AIDS. And so they are now asking for assistance through a GoFundMe page, which we will also link in the description below.
Okay, I got a lot to say because I didn't know that. I did not know that. I just found that out because they don't mention that in the documentary. Couple things. Number one, and I'm going to kind of speak on what we discussed in what was discussed in the documentary in a little bit more, a tad bit more detail that I think is relevant to the conversation. He was the reason he hates the writer so much of the film is because the writer was on record of saying there was no homosexual subtext to this film at all. That if that exists in the film at all, it's because of the actor, and he blamed the heavy-handed homosexual subtext and queer subtext of the film in general on Mark Patton, just being like, he says a word that I won't say, but called him the F slur about this in a kind of public way. And
it was during a time where Mark Patton was not open. He was not openly gay in the industry.
Because if you were, so I don't know if any of you that listen to our show, most of you are our peers. Some of you are a bit older and you may remember the mid 80s, but if you don't, like I wouldn't, you've read about it. You've seen about it. During the mid 80s, the AIDS epidemic was a very specific kind of evil in that the virus was evil. It's an evil thing. It's a horrible thing that destroys you. It has killed, the meek and the mighty alike, and it's a horrific thing, but also horrible conservative fucking, fascist assholes declared it the gay disease, and that it only killed gay people, and that gay people were trying to give it to you and your kids, and just the same kind of shit we hear now, we heard then. And so you couldn't be out in the 80s because if you were out, you had AIDS and you were going to give it to somebody. And that if you were filming on a set, they had to test you every day because that was the kind of hate that he endured. So the writer puts the spotlight on him. So he has to leave acting because it's ruined his fucking career. The movie critically is terrible. People call it the gay one. Homophobes and Christian far-right extremists alike hate on it, revile it, tear it to shreds. He's caught in the middle of all of that. So that's my problem with Jack Sholder, number one, is that to go, well, get over it. Fuck off. That man's life was a nightmare. No pun intended, sorry. But like his life was terrible because of this movie and because of the things that writer put into the movie that he then blamed that. Because later on the writer is like, oh yeah, no, I did that on purpose. I filled it with subtext. It was the 80s. It was groovy. It's like, yeah, it was really groovy that you fucked this guy's life up.
Yeah.
I did not know that happened. The other thing I didn't mean
to bring us down. I
don't think you're bringing us down. I think it's important to talk about. This movie is important.
Yeah.
Not good, but it's important. Mm-hmm. And it can be both. It can be a bad movie that has a lot going for it. Rocky's a bad movie, and it's been a phenomenon for 50 fucking years.
And it's important.
Right. So the problem that I have about where Mark Patton is now is not relevant to the podcast. I'm just going to say a sentence on it. But how the fuck in the 21st century, as far as we are in the history of the world, do we still live in a place where you need to go fund me to stay alive?
Yeah.
Anywhere in the world. How is that possible?
I can think of a few ways.
Just fucking miserable, dude. Anyway, I like Mark Patton an awful lot.
Yeah.
I think he is strong and I think he is progressive in all the right ways. I think he is...
Through all his hardships, he has come out like a pretty just incredible person whenever you see him interact with his fans of this movie and hear, you know, his story, and still comes out the other side being not a terrible person, but like, no, I'm going to persevere and push through this.
Well, I'm going to persevere, push through this, and then encourage others to do the same. Mm-hmm. I'm going to dedicate the rest of my life. And I have this terrible disease, so who knows how long that will be. But I'm going to dedicate the rest of the time that I have into not only being better, but telling everyone how to get their closure, helping people find their homes, helping people find family. He's just amazing.
Yeah, agreed. Principal photography commenced in June of 1985. Again, pre-production in April, photography in June, and we will release on November 1st of the same year.
They didn't storyboard shit.
No.
They didn't have time. PowerPoint didn't exist. It's just a bunch of sticky notes with stick figures. And they're like, this one's Freddy. He comes out of the kid here. All right, Jack.
Well, and you won't be shocked to hear that director Jack Sholder said in an interview that he had, quote, had very little time to prepare, and that the movie contained a lot of special effects, none of which I knew how to do.
Yeah, he was way too busy doing a shoulder jack.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Another one for the jack off.
That's great. But the film's special effects were headed up by, like I said, Kevin Yeager. He handled Freddy's design, which with Mark Shostrom. Mm-hmm. He was responsible for the transformation effects wherein like Freddy comes out of Jesse's body. So Charlie, you can thank Mark Shostrom for your favorite effect in the film.
Did you even say thank you?
Kevin Yeager, he replaced David D. Miller, who had designed Freddy's makeup for the original film. But he was busy working on Cocoon and My Secret Project, which I think both also came out in 85.
I love the movie Cocoon.
I have never seen it. It's one that you've got on over me.
Those weird moments. Yeah, I love that movie.
Yeager, he only had a few pictures in the original film as reference. So he kind of redesigned Freddy's look. He studied a lot of pictures of like burn victims and made changes to it, kind of bringing out Freddy's facial bones. His intent, he said, was to make Freddy look like a, quote, male witch. And he gave Freddy red and amber eyes to make him more demonic looking, which kind of fits with the description you gave earlier.
Yeah.
And then, much like the first film, they bet the whole farm on that first film working. If this one hadn't worked, New Line Cinema probably would not have survived.
Yeah.
Studio head Robert Shea, who was the producer, he apparently micromanaged pretty much every aspect of this production. He stepped over the line through the entire thing, offering orders that should have really been given by the director who, quote, didn't know what he was doing. And that led to a bunch of like an uneasy relationship between Robert Shea and Jack Sholder. And then, production was rushed. The release date was set well before they even started shooting. And so tensions were high, hours were long, the work was hard, and there was no real time to second guess or stop to think about, what exactly was going on in this movie.
People talk about this movie as it's coming out And like the way they chose to market it was they marketed it with like, oh, Freddy's like a cultural phenomenon. You know, they had like Halloween parades in New York. And they did like Robert was on a float in that parade, but then there are like people and kids dressed up as Freddy in the crowd, and like they would have apparently screenings, and there were rumors that the studio had heard that people would come to these screenings like Rocky, and they would come dressed up as Freddy. And they were like, well, we didn't find any examples of that. So we decided to do a screening. And we were like, hey, everybody, if you're coming, try to dress up as Freddy Krueger. And they were like, we didn't think anybody was going to do it. So we paid a couple people to do Freddy Krueger and like do impressions. And then a bunch of people showed up. So we got to take a bunch of media of them being there. And that's how they marketed the movie. It was like, it's a phenomenon. Everyone loves Freddy Krueger. And I think that speaks volumes about America in general, that everybody was like, man, this movie sucks, but it's got our favorite child murderer in it, so we're going to go see it.
Dad?
Daddy can't help you now. I need you, Jesse. We got special work to do here, you and me. You've got the body. I've got the brain.
Jesse spends the entire movie sweating and screaming.
He really does.
That's all he does. He's too wet. The whole movie, he's just soaked.
Do you think that's natural, or do you think they spray him down?
The movie starts with a school bus, and it's like a weird retro school bus, but that doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
I told
But you know who's driving that bus? Robert Englund.
Thomas the Tank Engine. I mentioned to you that I think the reason that they use one of those is because that's what they could then use as a miniature.
Yeah.
Because I think there's a miniature sequence at the end of this where, surprise, surprise, the bus is being driven by Freddy Krueger, and I needed the last name. Yeah, Freddy Fazbear. But the bus, like it's a regular school bus, and we kind of cut and we see all the kids on it. And this is where we see Jesse for the first time. And he's like towards like the middle back. And he looks really sickly.
He looks like he's wearing eyeliner.
It's like sunken, like I think they call it radioactive makeup, where it's like really red under eyes with like a black kind of, Yeah. He looks like he's dying.
Yes.
Which is like a little early for this. Well, it made me wonder when I watched it the first time if maybe it was like, was this supposed to be at the end?
Right. Well, and then that these sequences kind of bookend the movie is strange.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like we don't know that this is a dream sequence at this point.
What really gives it away is something they play with later on, surprisingly. This weird bit has a payoff. But the bus is like, first of all, we enter the first, like it opens with dream logic. Because it's like you have all these kids on the bus, and then it stops and they all get off.
All but two girls.
Right.
Which, like, thematically, if we're kind of breaking some things down, it's like, you know, that Jesse feels isolation from his peers, that he doesn't fit in. He's being laughed at by these girls, and they're doing the thing of just like, ooh, not that geek. Oh, no, you like him. Oh.
Which also doesn't fit the theme of his character through the rest of the movie, because he's not a geek.
No.
He's fine. He plays sports. He hangs out with a really, like, popular and wealthy girl. Like, he doesn't seem like...
He's got a nice ass.
Oh my God. But yeah, so we hit dream logic really hard.
Yeah.
And then they're making fun of him, and he's like noticing the bus is going super fast, and he's like super sweaty, and he's like trying to open the window, and they're making fun of him for that. But then the camera kind of, and this is so Tim Burton to me, the camera pans around, and the grill of the bus is like broken in a way that it looks like a demon mouth.
Yeah.
It's like an Oni mask.
It makes me think of, now that you say it out loud, it makes me think of the way that the bridge is curled up in Evil Dead.
Yeah. Yeah. It was so, it just, that feels so very like, or like Leica Studios, like something that you would see in like Paranorman, it's like a evil bus. And then this is kind of the theme of this movie to me.
Mm-hmm.
They then do nothing interesting with this, and it's an incredibly weird choice where the bus drives into the desert, and then the whole floor falls away, and they're like, the bus is teetering on like a giant stone pillar,
and it looks like Beetlejuice,
right? And Freddy, and the miniature work here is fine because it's
not like the rocks look like Beetlejuice, like the man,
like it's a stone statue of Beetlejuice,
right? But the set looks like the desert, the sandworm planet.
Yeah, I think if the bus had to be held up by a stone statue of a Michael Keaton character, it should be the chief of police and also manager of the Bed Bath & Beyond from whatever that Will Ferrell, Mark Wahlberg movie is.
Yeah, that one.
The other guys. There it is. That's him, and he's got the apron. But and then Freddy is like kind of rocking because it's teetering. The middle of the bus is kind of balanced on this rock, and so Freddy kind of teeters it back and forth. And then Jesse wakes up and he's very sweaty again and he's screaming.
Yeah. We do a really good like hard cut from Freddy slashing with his glove to Jesse's mother cutting a tomato.
Yeah, that's good. But again, so here it begins.
Yes.
You have weird sequence followed by waking up, followed by day in the house, then to school, then back to the house. Then weird sequence.
Yeah, rinse, repeat.
And it is like, people used to complain about the first Assassin's Creed video game because the first Assassin's Creed video game was like, it was like the same 4 missions just reskinned in every world, like every town you would go to until the game ended. And it's like, yeah, but you like the characters in that one at least.
Yeah.
So, you know.
Yeah, but they ripped it off from this movie. Jesse Walsh is played by Mark Patton, who we've spoken about. We are introduced really quickly to his family. Who are Ken Walsh is played by Clu Gallagher, who was...
Is it Gallagher? I always thought it was Clu Gulager.
Oh, you're right. I read my note wrong here. It's Gulager.
I love that name.
He was in Return of the Living Dead in 85. And then he was in, and I haven't seen these movies, but Feast 1, 2, and 3, which are a trilogy of horror comedies that are directed by his son, John Gulager.
Can you imagine your dad's name is Clu Gulager?
I can't.
And he names you John.
Yeah.
I'd be pissed.
Yeah, you gotta come up with something
Name
more
me
interesting.
Blue. Name me Blue Gulager.
That's my boy, Blue.
Yeah. But
his mother, Cheryl Walsh, is played by Hope Lang. She was in Death Wish, which is the 74 vigilante action film. And then she would later be in Blue Velvet, the 86 David Lynch film. And his sister, Angela Walsh, is played by Christy Clark. She was in Children of the Corn 2 in 92. And then she was in Days of Our Lives from 1986 to 2019 for 1,643 episodes.
I'm telling you, we talked about this in, I think, the last episode where we talked about Final Chapter. People that do soap operas do them for life.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Well, because if she started in 86, that is the next year. So she starts as a young girl and then her character grew up completely through this show.
I've never seen Days of Our Lives, but maybe she was like a kid lawyer that grew up to be an adult lawyer.
I hope that's what it was.
The thing in the scene that the only thing in the scene that's noteworthy to me is that she has a box of cereal that is called Fu Man Fingers.
No. The cereal is called Fu Manchus.
Oh, Jesus, that's so much worse.
Yeah, but she's looking for the toy in the bottom, which are the Fu Man fingers.
Which reminds him of Freddy's glove, which is, okay, great. You did that in the worst way, Jack Sholder, you fucking idiot. But yeah, no, super racist. And it also goes to show you that, hey, it's the 80s. We can dress Mickey Rooney up in yellowface and have him sing a terrible song in a movie that people still watch today, which we talked about. Bob Clark's Black Christmas.
Wow, didn't expect that. Here we get the greatest reveal.
Go ahead, yeah.
Of Lisa Weber, played by Kim Myers.
Yeah.
Jesse is he's leaving for school, and he answers the door.
A young Anna Wintour turns around.
Yes. She was in a movie called In the Mood, which was an 87 comedy that stars Patrick Dempsey, who was in Scream 3.
Okay.
She was in the TV thriller film in 91 called The Sitter. And then she was in Hellraiser Bloodline, directed by Kevin Yeager.
Is she in that movie?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I can't wait.
She's also in the Forger, which was a 2012 drama film starring Hayden Panettiere, who of course was in Scream 4 and 6.
Okay, a lot of connect. They're all connected. All these movies are connected. We're losing our goddamn minds in here, in our studio. But then there's a thing that leads to nowhere, and I hate this fucking moment because it's supposed to, I think, be played for a laugh, but it doesn't mean anything to the story.
Yeah.
Where they get in this shitty clunker car that Jesse owns, and he has to fucking hotwire it to start it, and then it's like, she's like, well, aren't you afraid that somebody's going to steal it? And he's like, steal this? Hell no. And they drive away. And it's like, but why?
It doesn't have any payoff. He's not like an inventor. He doesn't have to build a machine or fix a machine to defeat Freddy.
Right.
So it's like, I don't know what this moment is for.
Because the writer didn't know what to do with the character. Because in the beginning, he's a geek. And then he's like, oh, and he's going to be able to hotwire a car. And then it's, oh, well, he plays sports. And then it's, oh, well, he's ostracized. And then it's, oh, well, he has all the friends. And it's like, you have to stop.
Mm-hmm.
You have to stop being such a piece of shit, whatever the writer's name is. Jack Sholder is easy to remember because I made the shoulder jack joke. Yeah. And I put it in my notes.
Yeah, David Chaskin is the writer.
David Chaskin off.
But they make it to Springwood High School.
Yeah.
We finally have a name for the town that wasn't given in the original. Mm-hmm. But they are at PE class and they're playing baseball. We get our introduction here of Ron Grady, who's played by Robert Russler. He was in Weird Science the same year, 1985, which was a John Hughes comedy. Mm-hmm. He was in the 86 horror comedy called Vamp, which is, as you can guess it, a vampire film.
Oh, okay. I thought it was about like just saying a bunch of nonsense words to pad time. You're just vamping.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You would think that. Because you are not intelligent. He was also in the Stephen King TV adaptation of Sometimes They Come Back. And he was in Amityville, A New Generation, which we mentioned also last week because Barbara Howard was in it, and she played Sarah in Friday the 13th, the final chapter.
Okay. Yeah, I do remember that. Weird.
They have a little tussle here, like, and it starts this weird friendship.
Because it's like, okay, Grady confuses the fuck out of me the whole movie because Grady is like Jesse's best friend by the end of the movie. And in the beginning, you're like, oh, okay, classic bully trope. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And like the very first thing that happens is like Jesse tags him out in the game that they're playing. And then Grady fucking tackles him and rips his pants off. Like, I'm not kidding. He tears his ass out of his pants and they start fighting. And he like goes right for Jesse's dick, like immediately. And it's like, what the fuck is this? And then the coach comes over and he says unfortunate stuff.
Yeah. And then he makes them do planks. Is that what it's called?
Planks.
They're not like push-ups.
Well,
because they have to like hold it, right?
They like kind of bend their arms a bit. So I wrote in my notes that they're the worst looking push-ups I've ever seen. I don't know if that's supposed to be push-ups or not, but like if they are push-ups, they were like, okay, guys, do push-ups. And both of those actors were like, well, how? And Jack Sholder went, I don't know how to do that.
But during that sequence where they're being punished, they have a conversation, and we get the mention. Charlie kind of mentioned this here, where Coach Snyder apparently cruises queer S&M clubs downtown, is how Grady puts it.
Yeah.
So it is a I think it's our first kind of direct mention of queerness. In the film.
Our first indirect mention of queerness is them basically tearing each other's clothes off in a yard, which was shot in a really strange way. Mm-hmm. Mark Patton is on the record of saying that all of that shit is in the script, that they didn't go off script at all. That like if in the script or in the movie, somebody's clothes get torn or something happens in any kind of visual way, that's how the script is written. Yeah.
The over the years, everything has gone back and forth. Like, different sequences throughout the movie. It's like the writer at different points has said that he wrote the movie with all of this intended, subtext in the film. And then later he said that, no, I didn't put that in there. And that was all Mark Patton, his acting, putting it in there. And then, you know, the director has said over the years of just like, I directed the thing and I didn't notice any of that in there. And it's like watching the film, there's no way a person could have anything to do with this film and not realize what was going on.
Realize. Couple things about this sequence in the school for the first time that I find strange. The first thing is that while Grady is telling him, Jesse, about the S&M clubs there, and they're doing their push links, the coach is like watching them from his classroom, but he's like watching them with weird intent in his face. But he's also smoking a cigarette. And smoking a cigarette, even in the 80s, smoking a cigarette in the school is fucking wild.
Yeah. Inside the school.
Yeah. But eventually he's like, all right. And he calls them ladies. And he's like, all right, ladies, you're good to go. Get the fuck out of here. So they go to the locker rooms. And you this is where the connection is made.
Right.
Because Grady's like, oh, you moved in, like, where are you living? And Jesse's like, and again, well, I'm confused about their relationship because Jesse seems confused. He's like, oh, yeah, we just moved to Elm Street. And Grady's like, oh, you mean that fucking house where that crazy chick fucking died and all the bars were on the windows and everything? You live there? Everybody fucking died in that house. And Jesse's like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah.
But that is where the link is given. And we don't know how long ago that happened until a little while later. But yeah, it's a fine way to do exposition.
Yeah. Yeah. Because
that I don't mind.
It sets us like we are then following along in Jesse's footsteps because it's like we know the events of the first film, but we don't know how far along this takes place afterwards, or like why would anyone move into that house, or what has happened to Nancy. And
it is an interesting take on the fish out of water protagonist, because it's like he is not only the fish out of water, but he is the only one in the water. He's the only one experiencing it. The only other person who experiences it along with him is Nancy. But from the first nightmare, it's Nancy, but in like kind of a ghost way, like a Ben Kenobi on the hologram. It's like she has experienced this previously, but based off of her notes, and we'll get here, but based off of her notes in a diary that they find, that is the confirmation. It is the conversation of you and I had the same dream about the same creep. It's that conversation, but being had with Nancy, but just through a different medium.
yeah.
Kind of like Sandra Bullock's The Mailbox, I think is what that movie's called.
The Lake House.
That's stupid. Should be called The Mailbox.
That movie's great. I love that movie.
Is it?
I love it a lot.
Are we doing that after Pee-wee's Big Adventure?
Yeah, that'll be next.
Sandra's Big Adventure.
You heard it here first.
Bird Box.
So we then move to our first night, let's call it. And
again, the pattern, home, it's a weird dream sequence, home the next day, school, back home dream sequence. But they never do the right kind of passage of time in this movie. There are so many like, I'm doing something else. And it's so sudden and poorly visualized that you just lose track of what the fuck's happening.
yes, and the difference there, because I want to try and play devil's advocate.
Sure.
And go, okay, well, like, could it be thematically we have cut this in a way that we jump around from point to point, so it's like you are slipping in and out of sleep, but you get that in the first film because there's a lot of, and we talked about this, there's a lot of fade to blacks between scenes, and then we will pop up in a new location or a new time, and we don't know how much time it has passed, but this is just like hard cuts between things, and then you're like, is this immediately following this, or is this?
I would even take like a PowerPoint slide, like the ripple. I would take that just fine, but just hard cutting between every scene. I don't know. It's uninspired. It's confusing.
Yeah. But Jesse, he goes into the kitchen. He sees somebody outside the window, so he goes outside to investigate.
Yeah, he's wearing scrubs, which is weird.
Apparently that's what he wears to bed
because he's a doctor.
He goes to the like cellar window and he sees Freddy, who at this point, I mean, he's seen in the first dream,
right?
But he has no point of context of who that is,
right?
But he sees him go to the furnace and pull his glove out of there.
Jesse walks out of the house and around to look at all of this happening through the cellar window. And the way that the scene is constructed, it's like there's a lattice with some vine growth on the side of the house. And I think we talked about this in the first Nightmare movie, how a lot of the movie takes place in like this weird like alleyway in the suburban neighborhood. Yeah. And I think that's where this is supposed to be.
I guess.
but it's just shot in a weird way.
Yeah.
But so he then goes inside and goes down to their basement door, which again is a Floridian, is fucking weird. People just have little homes under their homes. But he goes to the door and he opens it and he looks down and it's like the whole room is like on fire. It's like super bright lights and like the sound of like metal hissing and whatnot. He sees a shadow move across the wall. And this is a bit of natural dialogue that I like, a bit of natural acting. He closes the door and Jesse's supposed to be like a teenager, like 16, 17.
Yeah.
And he closes the door and immediately he goes, Dad. And it's like, that is a very natural reaction.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Like I'm in my 30s. My parents live like 25 minutes away from me. And if there was a burglar in here, I'd call my dad.
Oh, I thought you just called me. Never mind.
That's daddy.
Yeah. But this is where we get our clip. And this is just the seduction of Jesse by Freddy.
Now I want to approach this scene because it is the most famous. It's like the most famous and infamous scene of this movie. That and the fucking dance.
Yeah.
But it's okay. From the sexual perspective, it is obviously sexual. It is obviously a seduction. It is, but not in a sexual way. It is a sexual feeling seduction, but he is trying to seduce in the context of the plot of the film, not subtext. He is trying to seduce Jesse into letting him, Freddy Krueger, out into the real world through his body as a conduit. Now that doesn't make any fucking sense. It goes completely against all of the lore of the first movie that they established. Makes no sense at all. The only way to get Freddy in the real world is to pull him out of the dreaming world into the waking world. But also, Freddy can just manipulate the real world. He is shown doing it the entire first movie. He can manipulate the real world through people's dreams. It is his demonic superpower. So I don't know why he'd need to do this anyway. But the actual scene is played really well.
Yeah.
I enjoy it. It is unsettling and odd, and knowing kind of Freddy's past of murdering children, it is like horribly inappropriate and like the worst version of inappropriate that a scene like this could be. But I mean, you got to give it to Robert Englund. He is an incredible character actor and he knows what he wanted this character to be. Mark Patton talks about doing this scene with him and Robert was like, hey, I'm going to put one of these blades in your mouth.
Yeah.
And then like a PA walked up and was like, do not fucking do that. Like we will never get this movie like approved by a ratings board if you do that, because the scene is already sexual enough and that will look like a simulated oral act. And it's like, do not fucking do that. But they took it as far as they could.
Yeah. And what's interesting is Charlie kind of brought this up, is that Robert Englund very much, he saw all that subtext in the script.
Yeah.
And so he played it up as much as he could. And he liked that idea of Freddy and kind of being this, I don't know, sexual deviant or
like
playing up with that, you know?
He's like a perverse illusion of all of your nightmares. And for some people, your those cravings, your natural inclination to live life as though you are naturally designed to live it for your own DNA, you are taught that those things are bad. You are taught that those things are sin, is a really good way to phrase that from fucking crazy people. So the thing is that I like Robert's approach to take this and roll with it, because Freddy is supposed to be your worst nightmare brought to life. But people hate this fucking scene.
Yeah. I hate the next scene.
I hate every other scene in this movie.
Which is a biology class.
No, I'm not kidding. I think that is the only thing, because it's like, it's nothing else. It's just Mark Patton and Robert Englund playing characters that they really are passionate about, and they're really playing it up, and they work the scene out together, and then everything else feels like a fart trapped in a Walmart bag that you accidentally pop open with your thumbnail. Low effort, disgusting, and really cheap.
Do you ever feel like a plastic bag?
Oh my God, that's so fucking funny. Because I truly, you say that, I'm like, the fuck are you doing? I like it.
Biology class. The thing we discussed in our rewatch was most of the time in slasher films, whenever a classroom scene is shown, whatever they are discussing is thematic to what is going on.
You pointed out that in the original Halloween, they're discussing fate. Yeah.
In the first Nightmare on Elm Street, they're talking about how sometimes the things that you see are not always what they appear.
Yeah. And this one, it opens and they're talking about shit. Literally, they're talking about poopy and like waste in your body, leaving your body through your butt. I don't know if that's supposed to be like, hey, we know that this movie is shit.
But the main thing here is, like you said earlier, he nods off, and then I assume Grady then gets the glass snake and wraps it around him. And so it's this play on the audience of, is this truly a dream? And then, no, it's not. But there's no build up. There's no time to think about it. And
the
then
score
it also
is misplaced so that it's not even like a good mislead. But then most importantly, and again, not important, how does the teacher not see one of his students get up, grab a full length boa constrictor, a fully grown, I believe boa constrictor or python.
It looks like a python to me.
And set it on this kid's shoulders.
That's the thing I have the biggest problem with.
Yeah. It's so stupid. But he wakes up. And then this is a moment that you pointed out that you like. I also like, because like Mark Patton's just so like kind of bashful, but he thinks it's like he's pissed because it startled him, but he gets the joke and he thinks it's funny. And Grady's like looking at him and grinning this big grin. And he does like this, like, it's so cute. It's so like kind of an effeminate, like little finger, like a flip off. And it's just like, I like it.
Yeah. It's an adorable little moment. And then, it is another little piece of this weird friendship that they have that I really enjoy.
Yeah. They cut back home like a lightning strike with next to no warning. You're just back in their house.
Yeah. And like Jesse calls Lisa to come over so they can go hang out.
This is where we discover that Lisa's fucking loaded because like her mother walks 70 yards like a football field from the back door of her house. It takes 16 minutes of footage for her to walk all the way to the giant fucking Olympic-sized swimming pool in their backyard. She's like, Lisa, honey, a Jesse called for you. I'm like, holy shit. Wow, a boy. And then she walks off. And that's one of the only 2 times that we see her. The other time I will point out because it's fucking weird.
Yeah. But then Jesse is stopped by his dad from doing that. And he's like, you got to go upstairs. You got to unpack that room.
I don't know if you're the same way. And I've been waiting to talk to you about this. I don't know if you're the same way, but like that stresses me the fuck out. Because he calls and he makes plans. And then he is told no. And he is turned around and he goes away to do a different thing, but he's not shown calling her back. So it's like, that stresses me out. I'm like, call this girl.
Well, no, she's on the way.
Yeah, because that's kind of, it's played like, well, you didn't show up. But it's like, that's fucking psycho. How do you know where he lives, dog? Like, oh, well, I guess she's been there earlier in the movie, but like, okay, why did you think it was okay to come over? You don't know her. You don't know his parents.
Yeah, I don't know and we don't know what the plan was.
Yeah.
We don't know if he was meeting her or if she was supposed to come over and then them go off somewhere together.
Probably a game of hide the Freddy glove.
Probably. But this is where we get our dance scene, which is famous and infamous in this film.
Very basically, I guess, the way I interpret it, is to make a game out of unpacking the room that he is bored doing and doesn't want to do. He puts on very loud music and dances around while unpacking. At one point, he like picks up like a pair of sunglasses and chucks them through the room. And he's like, take that, Dad. It's like, he's just making you do your chores, you fucking asshole. Like, what's your problem? The obviously infamous scene is he picks up what, I don't know what it's supposed to be. He picks up like, it's like an umbrella or like a drumstick or something.
I don't know what it's like a ball on a cup because it like pops out at the end because he ejaculates more or less.
But it's supposed to look like he's holding it like a microphone stand.
Like a microphone, yeah.
But it looks like he's holding a big old hog and he's talking at it.
Yeah.
You know.
And then he's thrusting around the room and he like pushes his drawer closed with his
by
with
twerking
his
ass against it. That's the first, that's the second time in cinema history we ever saw twerking. The first was what Axel, the night nurse, was watching in the hospital in Final Chapter. So 2 weeks in a row, we've seen weird examples of twerking.
Yeah.
In 80s slasher movies.
But then he is found out doing this dance by his mother and Lisa bursting into the room.
Yeah.
And I like the little bit that we get from his mother in this movie. I like the mother's performance. She seems to be a little knowing whether or not that's the like what he, the queerness that he may be hiding, or if she's just kind of like pushing him towards it. Like she is happy that there's a girl in the house and maybe in his life. I like the way that that's kind of handled. Whereas the dad seems like not like he's out of it. He's not like, you know, my son is this.
Yeah.
I think he's just kind of out of it of like, I don't understand my kid.
I'm not paying attention.
Right.
Krueger reminds me of the dad from Stranger Things.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of just always half asleep, always like, what did I do? What? And that's what he reminds me of. Just kind of a 80s dad, doesn't give a fuck, works all day, gets home, drinks, smacks the fuck out of somebody in his house, and then goes to bed.
Yeah. But Lisa helps him unpack the rest of his room, and this is where they find the diary that you mentioned.
Yeah, they find the diary in a bookshelf wherein he has one of the 80s hamburger phones.
Yeah.
And that's just rad as fuck.
Yeah. They find this diary which belonged to Nancy.
Yes, which is where we reveal that it's been 5 years.
Right.
Which is surprising.
It really is. This also, you know, for playing with my timeline of horror films and movie timelines on YouTube, I believe is where I got this information, because I was like, okay, well then where does that set this movie?
Mm-hmm.
Because originally I was saying the first film must take place in the year that it came out, 84. But this one doesn't take place then 5 years later. So if this takes place in September of 1986, which I would have to go back and watch movie timelines on YouTube to figure out where he came up with that date. But I'm sure there's like a calendar or something that he saw somewhere.
Sure.
It means that Nightmare 1 must then take place back in 1981. So it sets it back further than what we originally thought.
Which is funny because it clearly doesn't. Because, I mean, if you just even look at like Johnny Depp's attire, it's like the 80s were so fucking wild because the beginning of the 80s was exactly the 70s. The end of the 80s was exactly the 90s. Like they already had their like generational identities, but then the middle of the 80s was both. And it's clearly not the early 80s.
Yeah. But it's just one of those weird things because they were like, yeah, it takes place 5 years later. But Lisa reads a entry from Nancy that first is about her talking about
wanting Glenn's body.
Yeah. And then Jesse like kind of jumps in to read one of those entries as well. And it very quickly becomes the description of Freddy.
I like the tonal shift where he realizes and he gets a little quiet and he closes the book. And I also like the what? And he's like, I don't want to talk about this right now.
Yeah.
Because it's natural if you're going through something like that you're scared to talk about because it makes you seem like you're fucking crazy. Like I always have this fear about talking about the fact that I'm, I might be a murderer. Scares me.
Yeah.
And it should scare you.
But if we're taking it as a like the queer thematic element there is if he's reading this and he realizes something and then he feels ashamed. And so he puts the diary back down of like, oh, I was just reading this diary entry about a man. And
yeah, that's a good take. I also took from that the projected femininity of keeping a diary. Only very recently has journaling been something that is recommended for everyone.
Right.
Keeping a diary has always been like the little sister. That's the trope.
Or Doug.
Like funny?
Yeah, Doug Funny.
Like Quail Man?
Yeah.
Oh, shit. I gave away a secret identity. One thing that I have a problem with all of this exposition, it's only one. There's no way Nancy is fucking writing in a diary during the events of the first one. There's no way. That girl was so fucking stressed. She's got pots of coffee hidden under her bed. There's no way she's like, oh, shit, I got to jot this down. I don't want to forget. I got to add this to the scrapbook.
But that brings us to our second night where Jesse wakes up to a bunch of things melting in his room.
Which is visually confusing as fuck. Because, like, what is this? Because it's like green. It's like green ooze.
Yeah, the first thing is he has like a baseball lamp, which is like, it looks like a bunch of baseballs stacked on each other. And then the lampshade is like a baseball helmet. That's melting. The second thing that they show, the green, like, I don't know what that is.
It's a Slimer doll.
Yeah. And then you see like a vinyl record.
Which is cool. I like that. That looks good.
And he goes down to the cellar and he finds Freddy's glove in the furnace, which is, very similar imagery to the original film. And the furnace bursts, it lights, and Freddy is then laughing in the corner there. And he again, he begs, he asks, he tries to get Jesse to kill for him, to put on the glove. And
this continues kind of the thread in this movie of what the fuck is real? What is real? What would people, if somebody's looking in on this, is he awake? Is he sleepwalking? Is this only happening in a dream? What the fuck is real? And it gets so much worse.
Yeah.
I'm going to kind of rush through this next bit because it's not important at all. But it's just weird. And we mentioned it earlier because Wes Craven didn't like it.
Yeah.
Like famously, this was one of the reasons that he turned the movie down, is because this was in the script. Cut back home and they're kind of in the living room doing family things. And then there's like a rattling. They have this big bird cage and they have two like parakeets. And the cage is like, there's like screeching and it rattles. And so they take, for those of you who don't own birds, one of the ways that you put them to sleep is you take their cage and you cover it with either a cover or a blanket or something, because it makes them feel like they're in a nest, in a closed environment, and they fall asleep. So they pull the thing off, the veil of this cage, and one of the birds is dead. It was presumably eaten by Michael Myers, but it's dead.
He must have gotten hungry.
But he's dead. And the other bird is like freaking the fuck out. And then it explodes.
Yeah.
Like it pops.
Yeah.
And that doesn't make any sense to the rules of the movie that have happened so far.
No.
It doesn't make any sense that if Freddy is possessing Jesse, it's like, oh, Freddy can possess one person, one animal, but like one bird specifically, and like a fish and an amphibian, and like he can get one of each of them. Like there's no adherence. And Jack Sholder in an interview is like, well, yeah, it was the second one, so we got to expand. So I didn't really care about any of the rules. I just thought, fuck it. I'm going to do whatever I want. Fuck you. You like these movies? Go fuck yourself. But I did a big shoulder thing there because of his shoulder.
Yeah.
But then the stupidest line of dialogue ever is the dad is like moving the stove around.
Because he thinks it's a gas leak.
He thinks it's a gas leak. Yes. Typically, Hank Hill and his sales of propane have led to the deaths of millions of birds.
That's true.
It's just stupid. Oh, speaking of stupid, we go back to a dream.
It's our third night.
It is our third night.
And this is where Jesse wakes up. Because that's the other thing is like his dreams are always just like him waking up in bed and then going and doing something.
Yeah.
And I guess it's maybe Freddy. I guess we're supposed to take it as Freddy is possessing him to then go do a thing.
Right. And that's what you floated to me.
Right.
I'm going to go through this. Jesse wakes up, he looks around, and he is putting clothes, getting to go do a thing. He's preparing himself to go do a thing. And then we hard cut to him walking down a rain-soaked street to what the director of the film and the writer of the film call a transvestite bar.
Yes.
Which was apparently a real location. And apparently they filled the bar with very masculine looking women and effeminate looking men to blur the lines of this, air quotes, S&M bar to make it stranger. It's where we get our Robert Shea cameo.
Yeah.
He goes, so Jesse is, all right, I've already gotten too far. Jesse gets up, he goes and does a thing, and then we hard cut. He's in the middle of the street, and he in what looks to be kind of the outskirts of a downtown area, and he walks into this bar where he meets Robert Shea, and Robert Shea is wearing makeup and is in bondage leathers.
Yeah,
and he asks a clearly underage child, "What would you like to drink?" And he says, "A beer, please." So he hands him a glass and a beer, and he pours it. And before Jesse can drink, he notices a familiar face. His coach is in the bar. What? And he comes over, and they have an interaction. Now, here's my problem in this scene.
Okay.
Number one, why? Okay. Is it Freddy possessing him? And if it's Freddy possessing him, do people see him or do people see Freddy? Because if they see him, the coach sees him and recognizes him.
Yes.
But the bartender has no problem offering a drink to obviously an underage child. So it's and now it's the 80s. So
okay. And it's a couple of things. It's the 80s. It could also be if this was written with homophobic intent, then it could be written in a way of like, oh yeah, if a kid stumbled into a gay bar, then they don't care. They're
drag queens are
predators,
grooming. Yeah. Okay.
So it could be that.
That sounds like I mean that. No, that's their perverse ideology.
Right. Like yeah. I think at this point they're seeing Jesse.
Okay. That's fair. The coach,
at least for now.
Yeah. The coach then approaches him, and then again, we cut, and Jesse is now running laps through the indoor basketball court of Springwood High School. And there's almost no explanation as to why. Just that's what he's doing now. And again, dream logic is
Coach
fine.
Snyder caught him about to drink a beer.
Yeah, while Coach Snyder's in like a leather vest, so whatever.
Coach Snyder and Robert Shea, the bartender, is what you would call a leather father.
A lather.
Yeah.
Or a feather. I don't like either of those. I don't like doing that bit because I don't like seeing those men dressed that way because they are ugly. No, Robert Shea's a beautiful man.
Yeah. Let me real quickly interject. Sure. Coach Snyder, played by Marshall Bell. He was in Stand By Me in '86, starring Corey Feldman.
Ew.
He was in Total Recall and Starship Troopers as well.
I like all of those things. So he then goes to the showers.
Yeah, he's like, hit the showers.
Yeah, so he does. And then we are now cutting back and forth between the strangest fucking shit. It is Jesse is standing in the shower, and we hold on him for the weird, and like, bless Mark Patton's heart, he is just like staring, like they call it the Gen Z or the Z or X or whatever it is. What is the newest one? Is that Gen Z? Okay. They call it the Gen Z stare, where he's just like staring emotionlessly out into space, doing nothing. And then we cut to the coach who's in like the equipment room. Yeah. And then like a haunting movie, I can hear my voice. I'm so fevered, but I need to calm down. This is not that important. Yeah. All of these.
You're heated.
Yeah. I got to calm it down. All of these things start flying around the room. Like poltergeist, like basketballs and tennis rackets. It's a cool effect where like the tennis racket net like superheats and like they all start to pop.
Yeah. And then all those balls
go flying at his face,
pounding into his face. Yeah.
Yeah.
See what they're getting at?
But then he is, and I can't remember if the jump ropes happened first or if he's stripped naked first.
The jump ropes happened first.
Okay. So invisible hands wrap jump ropes around. Now, again, remember, Freddy needs Jesse so that he can establish a physical presence in the real world to kill again.
Right.
But he is perfectly fine without Jesse, who is in the showers, or maybe it's a dream, or maybe he's not. Who fucking cares? And the coach is dragged down the hallway by these jump ropes and then fastened to one of the shower heads as though like bound, which is a call to the S&M bar quote from long ago, and seeing him there. And then he is stripped in the shower. His ass is whipped blood red by a towel being wielded by an invisible force. And then from the steam of... Now, keep in mind, Jesse is seeing all of this happen and is just staring at it. He's not screaming. He's not reacting in any way. He's like basically standing with like, you know how you do in the shower where like you kind of stand with like a hand kind of near your crotch and a hand on your shoulder when you're trying to cover your body. He's just kind of standing like that and like just staring like awkwardly as these things happen to this man. And then from the steam of the shadow, a not Robert Englund Freddy Krueger, which is a fact that I didn't know until just now. Thank you, Derek. Appears and like mocks him and then slashes his back with the glove. Now, this effect is great. It's like a nasty looking effect because it's like the meaty thickness of his skin is separated by bloody lines immediately that start to bleed. And it's a good effect. It's
really good effect.
And then the shower head starts spraying blood. And then Jesse is standing there with a glove on, the Freddy glove on. And then he goes, "Ah!" And that's how the scene ends. And we immediately cut to ding dong. And the parents of Jesse open their door. And there are two cops and he is in a towel. And they're like, yeah, we caught him naked in the middle of the street. He says he lives here. And they're like, yeah, that's my son. And they're like, okay, well, you should get him off the mean streets. So here's my problem with all of that.
Yes.
That means that all of that happened. None of that is a dream. All of that happened. How the fuck are we expected to believe that any of that happened? that he did not notice any of it or react to any of it. Because I'm sorry, if the argument is, well, Freddy pilots him to the S&M bar, why didn't he react when he got there? Why wasn't he like, why the fuck am I, oh my God, and like freak the fuck out? Because I'm sorry, if I wake up from a dream and I'm in like the fucking like the Ritz in Ybor out of fucking nowhere, I'm gonna have a goddamn heart attack. And then he sees the coach and he's like, oh, I'm just running around. And he reacts to nothing, which is an insanely weird directorial choice. To have him react to nothing is so strange. And then it was him who killed the coach at the end of all of that. It's not Freddy. It is him. So then how did the jump rope shit happen? How did all the it doesn't make sense within even the context of itself. And this is a central point of the plot of this film, is the confusion of what Freddy is doing to Jesse. And it's like, yeah, but you've lost me now.
Yeah.
You were already teetering, and now I just don't. It's like I'm so confused. In my review on Letterboxd, I wrote, this movie is so odd that I stop caring.
And it begs the question of, if this is a dream, whose dream is it? Because we don't know who is witnessing what exactly.
Yeah, we have a very fast coin flip here. That scene ends with the dad saying to his mom, well, the boy needs a methadone clinic. Which is like, man, you suck. All parents in the 80s suck, apparently.
But it moves us to our fourth night, where Jesse wakes to a noise, and he finds Freddy's glove in his drawer in his room. And he hears, again, kill for me. And he moves down the hallway to his sister's room. When he opens the door, it's a slow motion sequence where he sees his little sister as one of the little girls playing jump rope by herself, doing the Freddy rhyme. Yeah. And then the next morning is we kind of get some answers, and it's Jesse confronting his father about, did you know what went on in this house? Is that why we got such a good deal on this, to move in here? And it's kind of similar to in Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers, whenever they realize that they're in the Myers house.
And the dad in that movie is like, shut the fuck up. And the dad in this movie is not shut the fuck up, but he's like, shut up.
Yeah.
He's like, shh, don't.
Yeah. Don't scare your sister.
Where the terrible father in 6 was like, shut the fuck up. This guy's like, come on now.
Just don't mention it.
Like, hush. Hush.
And that's basically, the toaster catches on fire.
So I actually have something to say on that.
Please do.
It was a moment in the movie where I realized that something they play, and I think if you look at the lens of what the movie is kind of subtextually referencing throughout the plot of the movie, I take it as like, passion and the sort of emotional rush that the what would in the 80s be a taboo sort of lifestyle. What these things do is just, it is so impassioned and so, hot and the fire that burns and whatever. And they fuck with fire and heat a lot in this movie.
Yeah.
I wrote down several examples. The toaster burst into flames here. Jesse is constantly sweating. In that scene with the bird, he's like, it is burning up in here. The pool later in the pool party boils and all of the hot dogs start cooking and they burst into flames. Freddy puts his hand on like the
furnace downstairs.
Yeah. And you hear it sizzle. The tennis racket begins to superheat and pop in places. And it's like they play with the visual. When Freddy is at the pool party and he walks through the gate, he bursts into flames. Yeah. And it's like, I know Freddy is a burn victim, but I don't think that that's the only reason that they would thematically use heat so often in this movie.
Yeah.
It's like that. And have you ever been in an uncomfortable position, or like you maybe as a kid, like you were lying about something and you get caught and you feel that like shame and that embarrassment and the worry, it builds up in your chest and it goes up into your neck and in your face and you get hot. It's like, oh, is it getting fucking hot in here? And you're worried. And I think that might be, subtextually part of why as well. Those are the things that I pulled from all of that.
I like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
We drive to a really cool set piece that they don't do much with, at least in this scene. But Jesse and Lisa drive out to an old power plant, and basically Lisa's been doing some research, and she's found newspaper clippings about Freddy Krueger having kidnapped 20 kids and brought them to this his boiler room and killed them here.
Yeah.
But then we quickly, in the way that this is edited, jump right back to the fifth night, where the furnace in the basement of the house lights on fire. And then we get one of our few interesting steady cam shots.
It's like the evil force from the Evil Dead.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Because we move like from the cellar, looking at the furnace, we turn, we go up the stairs into the main section of the house, up the stairs to the second floor, into the sister's room.
But the way this is cut from the boiler, from the factory or whatever the fuck you want to call it.
Right.
From the stupid fucking thing. It's like they open the cabinet that they find and there's like a rat jump scare. And Lisa buries her face in his chest. And then it kind of just immediately cuts to that. It looks like it's suggestive that it's happening at the same time.
Yes.
Because there's you can visually show the passage of time and they just don't in this movie. They fucking refuse to.
Right.
And so an already confusing plot is then burdened by a confusing theme, a confusing pacing, and then a confusing timeline.
Yeah, no, this is one of the more confusing because it does. It feels like this is supposed to be taking place. I take it every time I watch it, and it's been a while since I've watched it. I'm like, I take it first as Freddy knows that Jesse and Lisa are out at that power plant, and so he's taking this moment to go in and kill the sister.
Right. But that is not what's happening.
No, because then it is actually revealed that it's that night, and that it goes into this. The camera goes into the sister's room, and you hear Freddy say, like, "Wake up, little girl," and then we cut to it's actually Jesse looming over her, and he is wearing Freddy's glove.
Which is why then you look back at the scenes, kind of like posthumously, and you look at them and you're like, well, so then all of the kills have so far had to have been him, because that's how it's being presented now.
Right.
It's not necessarily the supernatural of like Freddy takes over his body and then you see Freddy and he's wearing the hat and the fucking sweater and then it cuts back to a topless, sweaty kid. It's like, oh, it must just be him. And then later that's not the case either.
Right. This is where we also begin seeing, much like Nancy in the first film, Jesse begins taking stay awake pills and drinking coffee nonstop and looking worse and worse. Yeah. We have a quick scene back at the school like we always do. First they're driving and Lisa and Jesse are having a conversation, and he says something along the lines of my dad thinks I'm on drugs. My mom thinks I'm crazy. I'm starting to believe them. And the only thematically again, I'm just looking at it and it's to me very much him not being sure what is going on, within himself, his parents not understanding what's going on with him and thinking it's one thing or another.
Well, yeah.
And him just why can't I just be quote unquote normal, or why can't I be the way that they want me to be instead of being something that then confuses my parents and makes them believe that I'm on drugs or crazy. Finally, we end up at the party at Lisa's house. Yeah. Which has been hinted at. We haven't mentioned it, but they've mentioned it throughout the film a couple times.
Even in the last scene at lunch, they're like, oh, are you bringing him to the pool party? The pool party. And she's like, my pool is so big, you could drown the population of Chile in it. Pedro Pascal's number one. He's going in first.
Everybody seems to be having a good time at this cookout around the pool, except for Jesse is off by himself. Yeah. Again, the loner, isolated from people, from his peers.
Really quickly, I mentioned earlier about Lisa's mom. Right. And acting kind of weird. This is where it's really weird. Her father's at the grill and they're participating in the party. And then she walks up and she's surrounded by teenagers. And there's a teenage boy right off to the side. And she walks up and she's basically like, all right, husband, come upstairs and fuck me. And it's like, you're doing that in front of your daughter's friends. Yeah. It just caught me so strangely. Because then and then I was like, well, maybe that's just she's flirtation or whatever. But then later they're shown in bed and he's like, honey, stop. I'm trying to watch TV. And she's like, fuck me. And it's just so weird.
Yeah. We don't get a lot of the parents in this at all. No. It's just kind of these couple of moments here. But Jesse goes into like a little like changing cabana that they have here because, like you said, they're obviously rich,
the bourgeoisie.
And Lisa goes in to talk to him, and he basically is just like, I'm gonna leave. I'm not into all this. Which that line alone is like, well, yeah. What could he possibly be talking about?
No. And then they have a bit of a conversation that leads to the most dry, clenched, sexless, passionless kiss I've ever seen. Which then eventually it leads to like they at least act very well in this moment. Their intimacy in this doesn't feel too forced.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I agree. It starts with like
a
yeah.
I'm gonna do it again. Ready? But then
they end up they start making out. They move to the floor, and he is finally seeming to become intimate with this woman.
Yeah. He's like, it seems like he's going down on her a bit, which I don't know if there's a better way to phrase that. I probably not.
Probably not.
He begins to move downward with his face, and eventually he's like, "What?" And Freddy's tongue is like really long and meaty, and it's like it pops out, and his eyes go super wide, and it's a really funny shot of like, "What?" And as that happens, he like claps his hands over his mouth, and it looks like he's about to gag. And then she like is like, her head is kind of laid back and her eyes are closed, and she snaps forward and looks. And I wrote in my notes, how poor Lisa, because she's finally intimate with this guy, and she looks down and it looks like he is about to fucking puke. Like, ew.
Again, but it just plays into the idea of like the revulsion to sexual contact with the opposite sex. And so he runs from that encounter to Grady, and he leaps on him in bed.
Right. Now, question. How did he get to Grady's house? Assumingly his car. So he seems like he's been there before. How did he get into his room?
I don't know. That is a question.
Okay. And then another question. They have a conversation. Jesse explains very basically, and this is where he says the very infamous and famous line of, there is something trying to get inside of my body. And I don't want it to take me. And in very sort of euphemistic language here. But he tells Grady what's happening. And very much like Glenn and Nancy in the first movie, they crack this plan. Right. Don't fall asleep. Watch me for something weird that happens. It cuts back to the pool party for a second. And the only reason I bring this up is because of the inconsistencies of the storytelling in this movie. Lisa's friend, who is nameless, who we never meet, we never actually meet her.
Yeah.
She's like, what's wrong with Jesse? And Lisa's like, I don't know. And she's like, well, why don't you go talk to him? And Lisa's like, okay. And gets up out of the pool to walk away. And it's like, but he has left. Does she know that? Is she also planning on just apparating into Grady's bedroom? Like, it's all over the fucking map.
Yeah, because that is where is she? Is she, because she doesn't necessarily know that Jesse went to Grady's. So it's like, is she going to go to Jesse's house? But she then doesn't, because he ends up coming back to her house in a bit and she's still there. So she doesn't ever actually leave.
Right. No. So again, I'm going to get through this as quickly as possible, despite it being an incredible visual effect.
Yeah.
Charlie mentions that this is his favorite visual effect in the movie. It's mine as well. Very basically, Jesse wakes up from sleeping and Grady witnesses him screaming, and he's like, it's happening again. And then from his fingertips, the Freddy Krueger glove blades push through his fingernails and out into the real world from the tips of his fingers. And then it's like his skin and like his whole arm like tears away, and you can see like Freddy's sweater material is under his skin.
Yeah.
And then Freddy's face kind of bursts out of his chest a little bit. And then
one of my favorite shots is he slams his back up against the wall and he screams. And then you see down like into the back of his throat and an eyeball opens.
Which is also very Evil Dead coded.
Yeah.
Feels so fucking Evil Dead. But then you see Freddy's face kind of embedded into his stomach, which is funny because that reminds me of Freddy, of Nightmare, I think 4, with all the faces emblazoned in his chest. That might be 3. But Freddy eventually cuts his way out of Jesse's torso and like steps out and like
might be my favorite shot in the whole movie.
seriously look this up. Watch this. It's incredible.
Freddy stepping up as the skin of Jesse,
Well, it's like, and his intestines are like they crumple to the ground
off of him. Yeah.
But then he kills Grady. Grady's like trying to get out and he's screaming at the door and Grady's parents are trying to get in and he uses the glove and like sticks and cuts down Grady. But like it cuts to the other side where the parents are and you see the tips of the finger, like blades go through the door.
Yeah, I like that.
Okay. Question. Do you like, cause for the rest of this movie, and you pointed this out, the rest of this movie, he's not wearing the glove. It's just his fleshy burnt hand with the knives coming out of it. Do you like that? Cause I don't. I think that's dumb.
I don't think it's dumb. I like the design. It's gross. It is like disgusting to look at.
Yeah.
And I don't know thematically why the change, because it's like the kill happens. Grady's dead. We cut back to Jesse, then reacts to what he has just done.
Right.
But he's seeing Freddy in the mirror, and he physically has the glove on at that point. And he takes it off and he throws it at Freddy, as his last ditch effort to, I'm not going to do this for you, and smashes the mirror. And then, from then on, the glove is not in play. It's just Freddy has the claws coming out of his fingers. But like visually, I like it, but I'm glad that they didn't that wasn't the new design.
But I have a problem with that too.
Okay.
Because he uses the fleshy hand knives to kill Grady, and then it cuts back and he's still wearing the glove. So he killed Grady. So did Grady see him or did he see Freddy? Did he see Freddy burst out of Jesse, or did he just see Jesse freaking the fuck out and then stab him to death? Well, if it is Freddy stepping out of and that's what Grady sees, who the fuck cares? Because he immediately dies and then it's all for naught because it's immediately Jesse's body again.
Right.
Or if it is Jesse freaking the fuck out and in his mind, Freddy is tearing out of him, but to Grady, it's just Jesse freaking out. That is also terrifying, and you should have shown that. You should show that to an extent, that Jesse's mind is fracturing, because then we as the audience go, well, is Freddy real? And then you could do more with that, but they don't do any with either. And I don't understand it. I don't get it.
Yeah, no, I think the best take that I have of that is that anytime we're seeing the Freddy stuff, that is the struggle in Jesse's mind of, if we were taking it for his queer tendencies that he is then fighting against.
Yeah.
Freddy is representing the quote unquote negative side of him that he is trying to not give into. But then this is a scene where he has left the woman that he was just being intimate with to eventually penetrate this friend of his.
No,
and in this way, it's a violent way instead of a sexual way. But
I get that. And if his urges and the dark parts that the movie is trying to represent as dark and as sinister, if those things are represented by Freddy, but it's just like a mental thing for him, that does more for the storytelling in that way than it does that Freddy is both real and not.
Yeah,
Freddy is both actually in him and not. Freddy is both tangible and not, because that doesn't do a lot for the subtext of that. And it also doesn't do anything for the context. It's just, I don't know.
Yeah. No, I don't disagree that they do a poor job of illustrating what is real and what is not.
Yeah.
I'm just giving you what I believe it is.
Sure. No, and I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I appreciate your point of view because I think it's a good one. We then immediately snap back to the party,
right,
where Jesse is now walking into Lisa's house, not like the cabana or the pool party. He knew she was in the house. He is soaked in blood. And the very first thing he says is so sassy. I love the delivery here. He's like, I killed him. I killed him. Yeah. And he's like losing his fucking shit. But yeah. And then, so two things are now happening in tandem. Jesse is talking to Lisa and explaining about the murders and the murders that he's done and how Freddy tried to make him kill his sister and all of the dark shit that's happening.
That's a dark line.
Yeah.
Like the delivery on it.
Yeah. It's good. And then it cuts to the pool party outside. Like I said earlier, the pool begins to boil. Hot dogs are cooking on their own. It's getting real weird out there.
Beer cans are bursting, spraying their suds all over the place.
Dogs will eventually, but not yet, have baby heads. Shit's getting weird out there on the main streets. But so eventually they're having this conversation, and Lisa says the same thing that Nancy says to Freddy, to Jesse, which is, he's not real. You're the one who's giving him power. You got to stop. You got to be better, which is very much like telling somebody with an anxiety disorder to, like, well, just don't worry about it. It's like, well, I don't think he's doing this on purpose. Like, I don't think he's choosing this.
Yeah. Or telling a gay person, like, well, have you ever just tried to not be gay?
Yeah.
It's that.
Yeah. Which is, I mean, that's a fair point. That's funny. Even with all of the research that we did in the preparation to look at this movie through that lens, I just didn't. I just looked at this movie straightforward as a horror movie, a telling, and I'm glad that you took that.
I have to look at it that way because otherwise I don't.
You're
care
in my
for it.
shoes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And maybe one day I will be emotionally mature enough to be where you're at. But for now, I'm the newbie, even to being,
Yeah. No, yeah. I get that. Remind me to talk about that in our outro.
Okay, pin. But so it cuts back into the house, and you've got, he's like, oh my God, it's happening. And he falls. And then Freddy comes up, and he's like, nah. And then she's like, oh my God. And he chases her around. And then another moment where heat is relevant. The fish in the tank, the water roils and smashes, and the fish are all like flash cooked.
Yeah.
In heat. Yummy, yummy little fish. But so then, and you pointed this out to me, right? Everybody at the pool party is running away because the water is boiling. And they get to the windows of the house, very like the Casey Becker's house in Scream 1 with the big back doors and everything. Yeah. And they're looking at her because she's like, help me, he's coming for me. And then the camera pans back, and Freddy is all like fucking like sassy, and he's got his fucking glove, and it's right next to like a bunch of china on like a shelf. Like it looks like an IKEA shelf. And when it cuts back to him,
like he waits for her to like come over and check on him.
Like, and she turns and sees him, and he just, like a cat, swipes it all to the ground, and it smashes. And then he goes, ah! And she's like, ah! And this begins an annoying thread through the rest of the movie, which is, I love you, Jesse. I love you too, Lisa. Jesse's dead. I love you, Jesse. I love you too, Lisa. Jesse's fucking dead, bitch. And it's like, please, somebody write something interesting.
Yeah. And then this leads to probably... my least favorite and Wes Craven's least favorite part of this movie.
Yeah, and for just a second, looking at it through the lens, right? Trying to meet you with where you're looking at this from. Maybe the reason they go through that so often is because I think a lot of people of like a lot of LGBTQ plus people will, try to have relationships with people of like a heterosexual relationship, and it just doesn't work because it's not what they're interested in. But I think in a lot of ways, those people develop, real emotional attachment to those people. So it is, I love you. And then he's dead because they view it as, well, I have to kill this part of my life. I have to end this relationship. And that's so brutal to just be able to be who I am. Or I have to end the relationship with my parents, or I have to end the relationship with my friends. So if I'm looking at it through the lens of that, maybe that's not as stupid as I think. But
yeah, it's just it's just the repetition of the dialogue.
Smacking it with a mallet.
But like Freddy almost can't kill her in this moment. It's like Jesse is fighting back.
Sure.
Because of the I love yous back and forth. Yeah. And so Freddy instead runs and jumps out of the shattering the glass doors on the back of the house. Yeah. And he runs around to then terrorize the teens in the pool bar.
And it is very like, if you put this at 1.5 speed, it is very Benny Hill. He just, I know I made that joke earlier, but this is the worst example. He just runs around and like stabs a couple people, and like they're all running and screaming, but for some reason, like the fence when they go to try to get out is like, it's electrified now.
And then there's like people are climbing over other fences and things burst into flames. Like you said before, there's fire all over the place.
Yeah. And then this kid steps forward and he delivers the most stilted, odd dialogue ever. He's like, just calm down, man. Nobody's going to hurt you. Just tell us what you want. I'm here to help you. I'm here. And it's like, bro, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, what the fuck is this? And then Freddy kills him. Mm-hmm. And then he turns into a smoky, fiery pillar and he vanishes into flames.
Yeah. And
Wes Craven is right. That's fucking dumb. Yeah. That whole thing is dumb.
This moves us finally to our finale.
Yeah. And this, you pointed out to me, is an incredible shot.
Yeah.
One
of the only ones. Yeah. Lisa goes back to the big power plant that she was at earlier. Apparently that boiler room power plant, not set, but location, is a steelworks plant that was also used in the climactic scene in Terminator 2.
Oh, yeah. I can totally see that. Oh, my God. Terminator 2.
Yeah.
You talk about a sequel, like a number 2 sequel that is fucking incredible. Let's talk about that now.
Yeah. We got time. We do a lot of weird things with like animals in this movie for whatever reason.
Yeah. Cause like there's like a psycho cat.
And well, before that, you mentioned it. She pulls up and there's these 2 Rottweilers who have baby heads.
There's no explanation because that's it. What is a dream and what is real? So, like, did they all die at the pool party? Is that what it's supposed to be? Did Jesse kill them all at the pool party and now they're stuck in a dream? That's the only way to play this ending.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, there's 2 Rottweilers with baby heads. And then as she's continuing to explore, like, an evil, like a puppet cat.
There's like a rat that pops out and she gets afraid of that. And then it turns into an evil puppet. Mm-hmm. And then a cat hops down to eat that rat. And then it becomes an evil cat puppet.
But it's like an evil cat puppet with like jagged, like Venom the symbiote teeth.
Yeah. But she eventually moves up to the catwalk and Freddy corners her there and she pleads. Again, it's the back and forth of I love you, Jesse. Mm-hmm. Come back to me, Jesse.
Really quickly, she also reaches down. Freddy, very importantly in the house, Freddy bites her in the leg. And at one point she looks down and she like feels something and she removes the bandage that she's tied around the bite mark. And there's ants crawling out of it. And I'm pretty sure they're fire ants, which I also notated. But they're ants crawling. And then she like shakes her eyes and she looks again and they're gone. So again, is this a dream? Mm-hmm. Or is Freddy just presumably able to change people's perception around him?
Right.
Which is never explored.
Unclear.
Yeah. Unclear. Nightmare on Elm Street 2. Unclear is revenge.
Yeah. But yes, Lisa is pleading with Freddy. And he begins bleeding from the chest for, I don't know, reasons.
No reason. The makeup for him is terrible in these shots, in these end shots. It's like bruise, not burns.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And in that pleading, they eventually, she gets down and she kisses him.
And a surprise twist, the kid molests Freddy.
Right. And then everything catches on fire and
he burns up in a weird like puppet, like a dummy that's dressed up like Freddy just kind of falls to the ground.
I love the puppet melting.
Okay, good.
I think the puppet melting is incredible.
I like the work that was put in to make the puppet look good, like the skull underneath and everything. But then when it falls, it's like,
yeah, it just kind of falls.
Yeah, okay, but fucking Tom Savini and the production team of the final chapter took 900 fucking cuts of Jason's mask falling to get it at the right angle. Fucking Jack Sholder sees that dummy fall, it like bonks its head. It's clearly a mannequin. It's stiff as shit. And he's like, cut, print. I'm going to go eat 6 sandwiches.
And then you mentioned before, Jesse is then rebirthed from the burned husk of Freddy's body. And he embraces Lisa. Mm-hmm. There isn't like a tender kiss or anything between them. It is just...
He looks rattled.
An embrace.
To me, that read as he is rattled.
Mm-hmm. And then we, much like in the first movie, we cut to our epilogue and Jesse it seems to be a brand new day and Jesse is leaving.
There's evidence of what happened actually happened. He's covered in bandages to cover what I assume are burns on his arms and hands.
But he's leaving for school. He's very chipper. And
gets on the bus. Everybody's happy. It's like a norm. Everybody's happy to see Jesse.
Yeah. And he kisses Lisa.
Yeah.
Real quick.
Right,
and so it's, I believe kind of Charlie talked about this as well, as like you could, read that in the homophobic way of he has conquered his demons of being gay, and he's now in a relationship with this girl, and he's going to ride off into the sunset. But then it maybe undercuts that with it becomes a dream. It becomes a nightmare.
Yeah. He screams that the bus is going too quickly.
And we get almost a repeat of the it almost bookends.
Well, and it's crazy how it does it because, again, the pacing's all over the fucking place. The bus stops, door opens, kid gets on, and it's like, oh, okay, that was a misdirect. And then he's like, I guess it all is over. Yay, everybody's happy. And then the girl behind him, her chest explodes open, and Freddy's glove reaches out and starts reaching around. And then the bus is going really quick through the desert again, and it's like, ha, ha, ha. So it just confuses everything even more. What was a dream? What wasn't a dream? Did any of this happen? Was this all the same day? Like, who fucking knows? It is just wall to wall, the movie. And yeah, you're right. You've made a lot of points that I resonate with. And Charlie made a lot of points that I resonate with. But looking at this just as a film written and directed and taking all of the cultural relevance that can be put onto the film, out of the film does not work.
Right.
And I mean, I think we are here to do both. So to kind of focus this conversation back to our thesis of this show. When you were first watching these movies as a young man, what did you think of this movie, and how has this movie aged with you as the, you know, over the times that you've seen it?
So that was what I was, that's what I asked you to pin basically is seeing this, for the first time, for the first couple times, probably. I hated this movie.
Fair.
I didn't like, I didn't like it because it, for all the reasons that people said that they didn't like it before this, of Freddy's barely in it. It doesn't follow the rules that are set forth, the dream rules, quote unquote, of the original film. Like, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. It is confusing. It is not really well shot or edited. Nothing really stands out. It doesn't have the same, like, you don't have those cool, like, there are good effects in it. Don't get me wrong. Kevin Yeager, he pulls off some amazing stuff.
Yeah.
But overall, it's just like, there's not the incredible set pieces that the original had. Yeah. And there's not the style that it had that Wes Craven just brought to it.
Or the charm.
No. And I didn't understand it. I don't know how young I was whenever I saw this, but I didn't understand, like, the gay overtones, undertones, what have you.
I don't think you could expect to at that point.
And so I wasn't taking it from that. It was more of just like, this isn't like the first movie, and so I don't like it. And it breaks so much of those rules that I really don't like it. Yeah. But then as I've watched it, I go back and forth on it still, because I do have to, I understand why it has a cult following. I understand why there are groups of people who would identify with Jesse, or, you know, with the things that are going on in this movie from that point of view, of being a misunderstood kid who has these feelings inside and is battling with this thing that they can't admit to their friends and family. And it feels like it's destroying you, and you're losing sleep over it. And so I get that. And the just, like I've tried to point out through this, and like Charlie, brought forth, just the layers of allegory and metaphor and just dialogue that is just the most blatant. Like, there's no way they didn't know they were making a gay movie. They were making a gay movie. Yeah. I love it for those reasons now, but still, as a Freddy movie, I have problems with it. Like, pretty much the same problems that you have. I don't hate it or despise it. My feelings are not as strong as yours in that way. Yeah. But I completely understand.
Well, and what's funny is that I think, to speak on mine, the newbie part, I think that the reputation of Freddy Krueger is different from Michael or Jason or whomever. It's, and we've all talked about this a million times on this show, but like, he's the funny one. He's the personality one. He's the hey, bitch. And they make fun of Rick and Morty, and there's a bunch of references to him all over the place. And that's what I knew, is that he was both scary and like a demon and did dream shit. And that also he was like kind of funny and zany. And so the first movie, you get the demon, you get the frightening. He's not funny at all. It's like he's silly.
Yeah.
Like he cuts off his finger and he's like, ah, look at that. And like it's just silly shit, but like silly shit that is still frightening. And the cast of characters are frightened by him. So it sells that. It sells that experience, that gravitas that he's supposed to have to me, somebody who only knows him by reputation. And then in this movie, it's like, and you watch the movie and you get to learn the characters and you get to kind of understand, oh, that's what this movie is about. That's what this movie, like thematically, that's what it's about. And then you get to this one, and this one is the opposite of everything in every way. It is made different, looks different, Freddy acts different, everything is different. And it's like, well, no, that's not what he's supposed to do at all. I thought he was here. I thought we would build to that naturally. What I didn't expect was a dip in the character of Freddy Krueger's like legacy, a dip down, not in quality per se, but like in, he's completely different in 2. And then he goes back to 1 in 3, and then it escalates.
Right.
Then he goes crazier and crazier. And I just didn't know that. So I was disappointed by this movie the first time I watched it. But if I'm being honest, I was so checked out of the movie that I wasn't that passionate. But then you watch it with an academic lens to try to garner more information. And also we watched the documentary before we started watching our rewatches. So it was like we listened to how important this movie is. So then it's almost like it's put up on a pedestal a bit to you of like, because, this is only the second time I've ever seen this movie. And more importantly, the first time I didn't really get a great watch through of it. So this is in a lot of ways the first time I really watched the movie. It's like, yeah, it doesn't work for me as a movie. And that's where I'm so new to this that I don't have the luxury of being able to look at a movie through a lens in another way. I have to just look at it in the ways I've learned to do now. And it just doesn't work for me. So
that's fair. That's
final
valid.
question. Do you recommend Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy's Revenge?
No.
Oh,
I
see,
don't.
I do.
Yeah?
No, I don't.
Oh, that was going to be a real shock twist ending there.
Yeah, it's my revenge. On who? Who knows?
Thanks for tuning into the Third Channel podcast. Please, if you have the time, rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or any of your favorite podcast apps.
You can follow us on social media at Third Channel Podcast, and you can find me online at thatdrosenberg.
You can also reach out to us at thirdchannelpodcast@gmail.com, where we check every message we swear. Third Channel is hosted by PJ Minette
and Derek Rosenberg. Theme song and audio engineering by Fly Guy Ty.
The logo designed by Bell DeVelco.
Episode artwork by Nathan Walkington.
Keep it tuned right here to the Third Channel for all things horror. And remember, don't touch that dial.
Egg salad and eggs.